Hey, good afternoon, and welcome here to the campus of Montana Tech. As we're at Alumni Coliseum, Bob Greenfield is the Orediggers getting ready to take on the Comets of Mayville State. Frontier Conference East action here on Digger Vision. Paul Padisco, Ron Haskett, and our great crew as we get ready for a Saturday matinee. And only the second time these two teams have played, and it has been a long time since they snapped and got across the ball from each other in the first place.
I was all prepared for this is the first time these teams have played.
And actually, I was kind of putting the first time in your era. I'll go grab my notes. I want to say it was like 82, maybe. But continue. I mean, you're going back there a ways, but it has been a while since they played. This is the second time they have met, and the Digs, of course, undefeated on the year. They are number 4 in the country, and Mayville comes in 4-3 overall, 2-1 in Eastern Conference play in the Frontier Conference. Let's talk about the matchup, my friend.
Well, if you're going to go back to 1982, I wanted to let you know I was busy quarterbacking the Shelby Coyotes that year. And congratulations to the Coyotes. They took down Cutbank. That's a big rivalry up there, Paul. For those listening out there that know the big rivalries in the state, there's Cat Grizz and Tech Carroll and all that, and then there's Shelby Cutbank.
Is it above them? Is that what you're saying?
At one point, I put it above them.
All right, I got you. I'm trying to look through my notes here. 1981, actually. Coach Paul Giese was at the helm for Montana Tech, and it was the first opening game win for Montana Tech since 1966.
Oh, wow.
They went from 66 until 1981 without an opening day win, and they beat Mayville 31-7 back in 1981. So a year before. So were you second-string quarterback at Shelby then?
No, I think I was still in junior high. But anyway, getting back, Paul Giese, the head coach. Paul Giese was the head coach at Montana Tech my first 2 years here. So, yeah, I was familiar with Paul Giese and a lot of the old guard that probably played in that game. I would guess Chancellor or former Chancellor or Vice Chancellor Doug Abbott was on the roster back then, along with a few Shelby Coyotes, a couple Shillings on that team, and Gus Wolvet, and some of the old guard that still comes back to this day to a game or two. A lot of times homecoming weekend, but I didn't ever hear of Mayville State until they joined the conference this year. Because we never played them in all my years of playing and coaching. The non-conference stuff that we used to play. We used to go east, or they used to come here, but it was always Jamestown, Dickinson, Minot, Chadron State, but never a Mayville State or a Dakota State.
Yeah, I mean the amount of when you look at the trips that we made, throughout the decades to other places, I think of like Humboldt, a bus trip to Humboldt, and places like that. The fact that we haven't gone into the Dakotas, and the Dakotas really haven't come here very often. Right. It's rather enlightening, I guess. But we are getting ready for the start of this one. Mayville State taking on Montana Tech. Mayville State is going to bring a lot of things that we have not seen this year, especially in the Frontier Conference. Heck, they bring a lot of things you don't see at many levels. Honestly, they're going to come in with the wing tee, a little dead tee situation, where you're going to see a ton of motion, and we're going to set the over-under on how many times our camera guys follow the wrong guy with the ball. I tried to impart upon them how important it is to make sure you know where the ball is. But I mean, that's if you're a good wing tee team, you're going to confuse the cameraman and everybody in the audience, hopefully, about every other snap.
Sure you will. Yeah, sure you will. But, fortunately for Montana Tech in their last game, before their off week last week, Northern gave them some perimeter stuff. They gave them some perimeter toss, some swing pass stuff, and some sprint option type stuff. So they were able to not that they're strangers to ever seeing it, and they see them on tape, and they get to prepare against it all week. But it's more timing up and setting angles, to pursue the ball, know where the blocking's coming from, that kind of stuff. So I expect Tech to be really, really well engaged into this offense. And one thing that Montana Tech, I've said it all year long, is they've got great team speed on defense, and that annihilates this kind of offense. And so I'm expecting great things out of the Montana Tech OREDIGGER defense today.
You know, it's been a good week of practice. I was talking to the coaches midweek, Wednesday and Thursday especially, and they were ready. Like, it's all right. A bye week was awesome. You know, having a couple days off was fantastic. We healed up quite a bit, and you realize just how kind of banged up you get when you go through that gauntlet that they had before the break. But bye week is fantastic, but they have been ready to play, since real early in this week. So, and obviously they're scoping a much different look than they have seen. This Mayville State team, you're going to see several different guys carry the ball. You're going to see a ton of motion, and kind of the weird thing for me anyway in this kind of wing T format is the quarterback isn't really a run threat himself. He's going to be handing the ball off. You're going to see a lot of pitches. You're going to see a lot of, sprint draw, where you're going to see a lot of back motion. You're going to see option looks. That's the big one, I think, where you'll see. That's where, in my opinion, you're going to see the quarterback most in Markuson is in the option look, where he is leading out, trying to draw that first defender to him, get the ball out to the speed on the edge, and let them do the work. Preparation for this has certainly been a little bit different, but as you mentioned, a whole lot of team speed defensively.
Yeah, it'll attack the perimeter, but there's also a lot of stuff within the interior, tackle to tackle and guard to guard that you can run out of it when you're running that soft motion with one of those wing backs. You can get some isolation type runs and some counter cross buck type action. Some people call it cross buck, some people call it counter sweep, that kind of stuff where they're pulling linemen, giving them angles, and that's just the between the tackle stuff. But yeah, they try and catch you off guard, and you need big physical receivers, which they have, to block the perimeter and just set angles and hope that it's a real assignment oriented.
Yes.
When you talk about people going against an option offense, it's alignment and it's assignment, and so you just can't miss assignments. You just can't. So. It'll keep them on their toes, but Tech fortunately has the team speed on defense to combat anybody that wants to try and run sideline to sideline and engage you in the perimeter.
So let's talk about this Mayville team and what has got them here. As I mentioned, they are looking at... let's see, their first game of the year back on August 28th, they beat Judson out of Illinois 49-20. On September 6th, they lost at Concordia College Moorhead 17-6. They were at Nebraska Wesleyan, picked up a win on September 13th. Then they took the long trip down to Simpson, California. They beat Simpson 21-17. Of course, a young frontier school in Simpson. Last year, their first year at football. Arizona Christian, they fell 21-20. They beat Dickinson for the first time in a long time a couple of weeks ago in double overtime. They beat Dickinson 34-32. They fell at Valley City State 21-0, and they beat Northern this past weekend 21-17. And amazing to think that Montana Tech, this is their 8th game, and they're coming into this Mayville game, and they only have one like opponent. The two teams face, and it's Northern. That's the only like opponent they both have. And for studying purposes, it's a pretty good one. Montana Tech, the team they played before they had the week off was Northern. Mayville plays Northern this past weekend, so you get a pretty good idea of true size against size, speed against speed, and you get a pretty good matchup in that respect.
Yeah, and scheme against scheme.
Yeah.
It's Montana Tech has to feel really good coming into this game. They're 7-0, right? It's hard to pick a spot where maybe they could improve, but the thing we've been talking about even going into that last game is the penalties. They have struggled with the penalties this year. This would be a good opportunity. Hopefully, get a win here today, right? But just clean up the penalties. I mean, they've struggled with all varieties.
Yeah.
Personal fouls, roughing the quarterbacks, pass interference, assignment and alignment type stuff. So hopefully they can clean that up here today and play a clean game, get out of here with a victory, go to 8-0, and move on.
Well, again, thanks for joining us here on Digger Vision as we make our way through a Saturday kickoff about 20 minutes away. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about starters and a whole lot more in just a few.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Stanger, and my specialty is adult hip and knee reconstructive surgery. I chose this specialty because it helps patients achieve their maximum functioning potential here in Butte, Montana. I like to ask the patient how their problem is impacting them, what their desires are, so that they can return back to their levels of activity. I can help patients achieve their maximum functioning potentials and, in turn, help them with their pain.
As we eyeball the Big M, waiting for that sucker to start flashing here, hopefully in a couple of hours, and just continuing what has been a really long, a pretty darn fantastic week here at Montana Tech. It's Hall of Fame week. Volleyball was home Wednesday and Thursday nights. Of course, we had Hall of Fame induction ceremony last night with, I believe, everyone named Daly in about a 9-county area was in the building. And then, of course, football right now. And then men's basketball gets their season underway later on this evening as they'll play Eastern Oregon at 6:30. So things are a little bit busy, but it's been an awfully good week here on the campus of Montana Tech.
Good path they're taking on these Hall of Fame inductions. Mitzi Daly, just
There's no
the
one
best
cares
person
more
in that student union building in all those years, and so deserved. And then I go back to Montana Tech assistant coach celebrating his 30th year up here as an assistant. I was on the staff here when Doug came in 1996, and immediately we became really close, good friends. I was in his wedding, and just that whole story about, how they informed him he was going into the hall. It's much deserved. And he's a neighbor of mine now, along with the head coach, Kyle Sampson, but just a good friend and a great honor and much deserved. And I mean, you've heard me off air, and I don't even know if I should say it on air, but because the respect I have for Coach Kyle Sampson, Chuck Morrell, and of course, Bob Green. But there were a couple opportunities when this job opened up where I was a huge advocate for going after Doug as the head man up here. Give him a try. If I was to be a head coach in college football right now, and my first assistant, my first call would be Doug Schliemann.
Yeah.
He is true. He is loyal. He can coach multiple positions. And I always thought of him as a head coach, how much he would let his assistants be assistants and run their game and stay out of their hair. But, huge honor, and I couldn't be happier for him and his wife and kids. Just a great event, and look forward to celebrating him with him tonight. That's the deal, as he certainly won. Dr. Joven going into our Hall of Fame last night as well. And then player-wise, Corey Crum from volleyball. It was an absolute no-brainer. Middle blocker from Anaconda. She is as mean as anyone from Anaconda has ever been, and she is fantastic. You've got Adam Greger, who, in my opinion, had the sweetest pull-up jumper from the elbow that this campus has ever seen. And then, of course, Pat Hansen. And I do believe, we'll see if it's going to hold up or not, but Pat probably going to come talk to us late in the halftime era. Certainly look forward to that. The all-time rushing leader for Montana Tech, 4,489 yards, I believe, is where it's at. But that number pales in comparison to the other one. The number for Pat Hansen that makes my head spin is his number of carries. Do you have it? Take a guess at number of career carries for Pat Hansen. Give me a second. Four-year starter. Give me a second here. All right. 2,400. That's a little high. That's oh wait, no, not 2,400. Excuse me, 600. That's closer, but it's still far higher than that. 937. Well, that would make sense. He had shy of 1,000. So the NAIA record books aren't real good at keeping those kind of track. So I went to the NCAA record book and to see where that lands him. It lands him 30th all time in the NCAA for number of carries. He is right ahead or right behind Ricky Williams by like one carry. And maybe they'll go out and enjoy an herb later. But he is ahead of Herschel Walker.
I mean, some of the names, I'm like, holy man. So, yeah, Pat Hansen into our Hall of Fame for football last night, and he said he'll try and come up and join us, and we'll chat with him. Just as good a guy as you're going to find.
While you were looking at them numbers, did you happen to look at like Jayla Prowse or Blake Counts? I'm just thinking of four-year guys.
Nowhere near. Which that's where you start to go, oh, man, yeah, that's a whole lot of carries. And I just remember, Coach Morrell, gave us a quote for Pat that we read last night, and it was wonderful. And my favorite quote, I remember talking to Coach Morrell, and he and I believe it was in his office, and we're just sitting there BSing. And we were talking about Pat, and he's like, I cannot even tell you how effed we would be if we didn't have Pat Hansen. He goes, basically every win that we were able to scrounge in those early years is because of number 24. If we didn't have 24, we would have gone over.
Hey, I was standing next to Pat in the tailgate. He still looks like he could lace him up.
I know. It's crazy. Again, welcome in. It is Hall of Fame weekend, and certainly has been a good one here in Butte, Montana. Let's talk about, so we've talked about Mayville a little bit. We certainly still have some more to go there, but let's talk about this Tech team, undefeated as of right now. If you're on the defensive side of the ball for Mayville or for any of our other Frontier Conference opponents, what do you try? Who do you look to stop first? What are you trying to stop if you're putting D on Montana Tech?
Well, I'm going to go back to history, and I'm going to tell you that Montana Tech wants to be successful running the ball. That's first and foremost. I've got to control their zone running attack, inside and outside zone. But the first thing you have to do is you have to be educated enough throughout your week to understand shifts and motion. That's the number one thing. You got to make sure you're aligned right at the snap of the football. So that's the first thing that I address is getting aligned right, getting in the right defense, stopping the run. But you have to know, you have to have corners and nickelbacks and stuff that are disciplined enough to cover one-on-one, because in order to stop Tech, you got to stop the run. You're going to have to engage a lot of people into the running game, and you're going to put your cornerbacks and nickelbacks on an island.
Coming into this week, the talk and kind of BSing with the coaches, I have a real feeling that this Tech team really wants to get the ball going on the ground. And I feel like Wykeese Johnson wants the ball in his hands. It'll be interesting to see. I really feel like we're going to see that Wykeese that we did the first couple weeks, and I think he's healthy, and I think he's kind of back to himself. I'm very interested to watch him get ready and to watch him get out here and get after it for Montana Tech.
We were talking about Wykeese in the tailgate, just among people that pay, fairly close attention to what Montana Tech does, and, from personnel standpoint to what they want to run. I had made comments last 2 or 3 games that something looked a little off there, but in my opinion, looking after that, it's just like, well, there must not be something off, because they're still continuing to keep him in the rotation with a heavy carry load, but he just didn't look like the same guy that ran those first 3 games of the season. He had 500 yards total rushing yards in the first 3 games, and it's been a struggle for him since. Now, granted, there's been some teams in there that had a lot to do with that. But I don't know, something to me just didn't look right. So hopefully he's enjoyed his week off and has gotten back to 100 per.
There is another factor this week that has been missing for a couple of weeks, and it has been a huge factor in that running game, is Kieran Netburn, the tight end fullback, will be back. He did play in the first couple games as a lead blocker. It was a huge factor in those games. He is back for Montana Tech. He's been out a couple weeks injured. He is back in rotation, and that should honestly really kind of change things for Montana Tech as well.
Yeah, that'll be good for him. And another thing today, I get to go down.
I was going to say, you better get out of here.
Go down for the coin toss.
Yeah, get out of here. Ron Haskett is going to be honored at the coin toss. So we are going to obviously point and make fun of him as he does it. Let me shake your hand, brother. Ron Haskett played here at Montana Tech, coached here at Montana Tech, and has been on the radio waves with me and on the stream for 20 years. This is the 20th year Ron Haskett and I have called games, back to 2005. I still remember it well, and this is no joke. I remember when I asked him if he would like to do the games with me. We were standing in line at Dairy Queen. And this is the old Dairy Queen on Harrison Avenue. He had his daughter up on his shoulder. She couldn't have been, let's see, I think I want to say she's 3 years older than my daughter. So, I mean, yeah, she's probably like 3-ish, maybe 4, possibly. We were standing in line. Remember, it was the old, you couldn't go in. It was just the windows. And we were talking, and I asked him if he wanted to do games with me, and he said, well, yeah. So that was it. That was our extensive interview process of Ron Haskett joining me on radio and here on the stream. So as always, thanks for joining us here on Digger Vision as we get ready for the Digs to come out on the field. Montana Tech, of course, led by Jared Wilson. Wilson completing 73% of his passes for 1,409 yards. He's averaging 202 yards through the air per game. He's thrown 15 touchdowns, opposed to only 1 interception. The young sophomore, started this year off, and he has just gotten better and better.
But one thing's for certain,
not even better and better,
keep
like
showing out.
game to game. It almost feels like series to series or even rep to rep. I mean, the growth we have seen out of Jared Wilson has been amazing. And if you watched him play high school ball, you easily understand why. I mean, he was so good in high school, and he's so dynamic. He has such a good arm. He is incredibly intelligent, which is something I can't understand, to be honest. But then his ability to run when he decides to pull the ball down and go, he is incredibly good on the ground, and he is just a talented young man. Has really had a nice year, as I mentioned. 1,409 yards through the air. He's also run for 264 yards. He has 1 rushing touchdown, and he ran for 54 as his long earlier this year. So Jared Wilson just continuing to have a very good season. We talked about Wykees Johnson and Milanowski. Johnson has 612 yards on 139 carries as of right now. He's averaging about 88 yards a game, just under 5 yards a carry. He has 8 rushing touchdowns. His long run of the year was 74 yards. And then, of course, Nate Milanowski. Milanowski has just been a workhorse this year as well. Johnson and Milanowski in the backfield are fantastic. Milanowski, 50 carries, 260 yards, averaging about 40 yards a game, and a little over 5 yards a carry. For Nate, he has 4 rushing touchdowns and as long as 75 yards on the year. From there, let's talk about the receiving core, and you have to look at Levi Torgerson. The Digs about ready to make their way onto the field. We'll wait here a second before we talk about the others here as the Digs are on the field. So Montana Tech out on the field. The Digs 7-0 on the year, 2-0 in Eastern Frontier Conference play, number 4 in the country. And they're getting ready to take on the Comets here this afternoon. A receiving core, of course, led by Levi Torgerson. Torgerson right now, I think, has a hell of an argument for NAIA Player of the Year. What he has done is just incredible. I was looking up all-purpose yards, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Receiving-wise, Torgerson has 50 catches, 685 yards. He's averaging just under 100 yards per game. He has 6 touchdowns as well. Big Michelotti on the edge, 21 catches, 388 yards. And then Derek Pierce at tight end. Pierce, 15 catches, 192 yards. Derek has 2 touchdowns as well for Montana Tech. You're going to see him play a big factor in this ball game. Real smart tight end as well. A guy that can get out and block. He's not one of those. You always talk about tight ends being either like a blocking tight end or a receiving tight end. And I think that's where Derek really shines, is he does both so well. You're not giving up anything to the other team by letting them know what tight end you have in, because Derek is such a monster. He can block anybody. He's intelligent, but he also has great hands and can run the football. Really has had an outstanding career here at Montana Tech. So we're getting ready to roll. The Digs taking on the Comets. And we are going to get our national anthem. And we will get her underway. Again, thanks for joining us here on a Saturday afternoon. As we mentioned earlier, Coach Ron Haskett is going to be doing our coin flip today. And we're going to get our national anthem. So with that, we will pause for the anthem, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Back here once again to the campus of Montana Tech as we get ready to roll here. And certainly looking forward to what should be a great afternoon. Montana Tech and Mayville State. The second meeting for these two programs, the first was back in 1981. So it's been just a minute since the two teams have played, and certainly looking forward to this afternoon. As we mentioned, Mayville comes in 5-3 overall, 2-1 in Eastern Conference action. Their conference games, they have a win over Dickinson in double overtime. They beat Northern last weekend, and they fell at Valley City State 21-0. So that's how the conference part goes. And again, amazingly enough, you look at these two teams, and the only like opponent they have, and we're 8 weeks into this thing, is Northern. That's it. It's the only like opponent as of right now. So we're going to get our captains out and ready to roll. We talked about Montana Tech. Let's talk about Mayville State a little bit. They average about 290 yards of offense a game, 44 yards a game passing is all. Of course, the bulk of theirs is going to be on the ground. They get about 250 yards a game on the ground. And taking a look at individuals, Marcuson, their quarterback, Marcuson has only 44 passing attempts this year. He has 12 completions, 221 yards. He's thrown 2 touchdowns. He has 4 interceptions as of right now. From there, guys, you're going to see a whole lot of people running the football. Nuapa, the tailback, 97 carries, 349 yards. He is averaging about 50 yards a game. He has 3 rushing touchdowns. Smith has 53 carries for 334 yards and 3 scores. Olson, one of the other slots, the edge, if you will, has 67 carries for 325 yards and a pair of scores. So our coin toss, and we are ready to roll here.
Chose to receive.
Frontier Conference action. As Haskett holding on to the game ball out there. So Ron Haskett, Lori Johns. As always, thanks for joining us here on Digger Vision. Looking forward to this one. As Montana Tech taking on the Comets out of Mayville State. Frontier Conference action on a Saturday afternoon. Montana Tech, number 4 in the country. And just have been playing outstanding. And it just feels like every week, you know, they're so young and so new in so many positions. There were just so many question marks. You had no idea. I mean, there was a whole lot of promise, and there's always promise in a year, you know, but I don't think anyone had an idea where this was going right now. and you still can't see the ceiling. I mean, this team is continuing to play better and better. And, I'll be interested to see what's next. So Mayville will kick off to Montana Tech. Levi Torgerson is deep, but Montana Tech kind of making their way up toward the line of scrimmage. And play action. Wilson's going to drop it off underneath to Torgerson. Torgerson puts on the brakes. He's out to the 39-yard line, a gain of 5.
Good piece of tackling out there in the flat by Mayville State, holding Torgerson short of the first down mark, a yard to go.
And with the tackle out there for the crew, it looked like Dominic Catano, a DB junior out of Morgan Hill, California. 3rd down and 1 for the Orediggers, quickly up to the line of scrimmage. 2 receivers left, 2 to the right. Out of the shotgun, Jarrett Wilson. Looks like Nate is in the backfield here. So Milanowski in the back, also Torgerson. Torgerson will get the deep pitch. Milanowski blocking out in front across the 45. First down yardage to the 47. Pyle still moving. And now we get a whistle as they get out to the 49-yard line. They picked him up and were hoisting him like it was honestly, it was like a parade.
Rugby inbound play where they lift the dude up. They had him. I bet you they had him 2 feet off the ground.
Take a look at the Case Construction instant replay. Let's see when he goes airborne here. As it would appear the feet are off the ground right there. And then he gets motioned around. First down and 10 here for the Digs. Ball at their 49-yard line. Split backs here for Montana Tech. Torgerson goes in motion. Play action. They'll hand it off to Wykees Johnson. He has a seam and he's gone. Wykees Johnson is going to go to the house, but there is a flag. Wykees Johnson takes it in, but this is going to come back.
Flags at the line of scrimmage. More than likely going to be a hold. Unless the only other chance you have there is a defensive hands to the face.
Illegal hands to the face. Offense, number 69.
Offense or defense.
Penalty, replay, first down.
So a lot of hands to the face. Let's take a look here.
Excuse me. A lot of talk coming into this game was, about what the Mayville State Comets do on offense. What they do on defense can be a little puzzling too.
Yes.
They try to run the old flex. The flex defense and what that brings, if you looked on that last play, is a lot of guys near the line of scrimmage. Not necessarily on the line of scrimmage, but they have 3 down guys. They're covering the nose. They got a couple ends walked up, and then they have 2 linebackers up there in just kind of a flex zone, kind of in between where a linebacker would typically stand and versus a D front guy. You can see it here.
15-yard penalty, so 1st and 25 for Montana Tech. Handoff is going to go out on the right side. Johnson is going to get taken down after a short gain. Nice tackle that time by Anthony Johnson. Johnson at linebacker makes the stop. That'll bring up 2nd down and long.
We used to run into that a little bit with Eastern Oregon, a little bit with when we used to play Southern Utah. They used to run some of that flex stuff. And, I was never much of a front play guy. I was more of a pass attack guy. I'm trying to remember how they would treat it. I think they just treat those flex linebackers as down guys, even though they're 2 to 3, maybe 3.5 yards off the football here. But I think you just treat them as a couple 3 techniques.
Play action. Wilson wants to throw. He has time. Has a man. That's Michelotti. Caught down to the 27-yard line. Nick Michelotti had to put on the brakes a little bit. He comes down with that football and a huge gain for Montana Tech. 1st and 10 from the 26-yard line. Actually, they'll mark him at the 25-yard line of Mayville.
I love what Wilson did with that ball. Sure, he underthrew him, but it beats an overthrow. Michelotti can adjust. He can adjust to an underthrown ball. He's wide open. Just get the ball completed. Michelotti does a nice job of shoring up the catch before he's hit there, but a big gain and a big first down.
1st down and 10 here for Montana Tech. One back at home, Milanowski. They'll bring it tight up front. And the snap, play action. Wilson rolls the pocket left downfield. He has Michelotti wide open, and he'll stroll into the end zone. Nick Michelotti will get the score. That's his 6th touchdown of the year, and Montana Tech will go up 6-0.
You're going to get a lot of man coverage today, or attempts at man coverage. Michelotti's a matchup nightmare. He's built like a tight end, runs like a wide out. Him in man-to-man coverage on a corner or an inside slot or anything is just going to be a tough get if Wilson has time to throw the ball, which he did there on the soft rollout.
Boy, he rolls out the play action, makes the secondary bite just for a moment, and Montana Tech will get the score, 6-0. Awaiting the snap here. Snap and hold are good. The kick is up, and Casey Councilman will put that one down in Browns Gulch, basically. 7-0 our score. Montana Tech with the lead over Mayville State. Frontier Conference action here on Digger Vision. And it looks as though we do not have a media timeout, so we'll go ahead and keep it here. Montana Tech executes a brilliant drive right out of the gates, and we're ready to roll here, see what Mayville can bring.
Yeah, they did absorb one of those penalties we talked about going into this game, but yeah, just a nice job, good execution, didn't panic. You know, they had 1st and 25 there. They run the football, don't get much, but live to see another down, and they managed to get Michelotti wide open twice, once for the big gain and once for the payoff, the touchdown.
So Montana Tech will kick off here. And we'll see Mr. Baranowski lean into it. It doesn't feel like Baranowski's one of those kickers that it doesn't feel like the wind even bothers him. No. You know, a couple of weeks ago when we were here, I felt like the wind was really kind of getting after it, and it didn't affect him whatsoever. And
we're supposed to get a little wind here today. Yeah. You know, the wind somewhere maybe between 15, 20 miles an hour. It'll be noticeable, but yeah, I mean, it should be no stranger to it, especially if you come from the middle of North Dakota, Mayville State. I'm sure their game is adjusted to the wind as well. But yeah, we stole a day here, plus 50 degrees, close to November 1 here in Butte, Montana. This is like stealing a day.
Montana Tech, 6 plays, 70 yards, 7 points.
You can see the remnants of the snow drifts from this field being plowed here a couple weeks ago when we did wake up to about 7 inches of snow up here on the hill.
End over end kick. The return will start at the 1 yard line. It will go up the center. Now it'll shift out to the left side. Big gap out to the 30, 40. Baranowski takes him down at midfield, and there's going to be a flag down to get him up around the face mask.
Yeah, face mask, I believe, was the first thing Baranowski grabbed. But, you know, when you're the kicker making the tackle on a kickoff return, you're the last line of defense. What's another 15 yards? Get the guy to the ground.
Mask. Number 39.
So the face mask will give him even better yardage as they mark it off from the 50. So Mayville will start at the Montana Tech 35-yard line.
Yeah, the Comets do have some guys that can tote the football, certainly. You think of Nuapa and Landon Olson, you know, the slot back, Smith, Simmers. You know, they got a lot of guys that can carry the football and run with speed and kind of a nightmare to get to the ground.
Markison under center. Behind him is Nuapa. Slot left in motion. Nuapa will get the rock. He'll go straight ahead. And after a spin, he'll get down to the 30-yard line. That's going to be a gain of 5. Boy, Tech was after that football.
Yes.
They were hanging on that arm.
Yeah, and it's, you know, we get back to what we talked about in the beginning, assignment football. You got to have somebody in charge of the dive on that option look. And, you know, Montana Tech, you know, up front, you want guys to be able to engage, use their hands, disengage. You want some help out of that D front. Sure, you want to eat up blockers and let your linebackers do the bulk of the heavy lifting when it comes to tackling that dive. But if you can disengage and get more bodies out of that defensive front, you can see Tech's got 5 guys lined up there right now.
2nd down and 5 here for the Comets. Up to the line of scrimmage slowly is Markuson. Nuapa behind him. Slot right goes in motion. Nuapa will get the ball again. He'll go straight ahead and pick up 2. And he'll get shoved backwards. They'll give him 2 yards forward progress. 3rd down and 3. And you'd have to assume safely in 2-down territory in this situation. And Mayville actually, if memory serves correct, they are 45% on 3rd down. Obviously, we're not there yet, but I believe they're number 1 in the country for 4th down conversions and attempts on 4th down.
You're going to see it here. Knowing they got 2 downs, I'd be surprised if they try to get to the perimeter here. You may see a pull and a pitch, but I'd be real surprised. They probably don't mind what they've seen out of Nuapa here on these first 2 carries, knowing he's got 2 more to pick up 3 yards.
Markuson under center. Slot left in motion. Nuapa gets the carry. He'll get hammered after a gain of 1, but a flag down.
Flag, I know you. I mean, coming from the sideline here, it could be an offside, could be a false start on the right side of that Comet line, and it is a false start.
Yep. So the Comets getting started early.
Montana Tech, did they whistle that thing dead? Because I didn't see the play get whistled dead, even though it was a false start. The only reason I'm going there is, did Montana Tech have the option to decline the penalty and force them into 4th and 2
down
here?
And it didn't look like that was the case at all. So 3rd down and 8 here. 3rd down and 8 here for the Comets.
And this changes your thinking. They just do not throw the ball much. You know, a lot of go routes, a lot of hopes for PIs and stinging a defense on a go route. But
Ryder Murdoch in the backfield this time. Pitch goes out on the left-hand side and out of bounds at the 32-yard line. A slight gain, but not much out there that time, as with the carry, Isaiah Smith.
Couple things, you know, running the perimeter of Montana Tech can be a nightmare. Jace Thompson and Peyton Gonzer, from their safeties, their half-field look or whatever it is, they get sideline to sideline. They're fast at linebacker, and it's just tough, and they're big and physical at corner. That's what I like.
4th down, and they look to the sideline for the play call. 8:38 left to play here in the opening quarter. Comets back up to the line of scrimmage.
Good to see Christian Hansen back there at right corner for this OREDIGGER defense. He's been out for a few games.
And it looks like we're going to get a timeout here. And clock will go down to 0. And the Comets will call a timeout. Montana Tech leading 7-0. Frontier Conference action here on a Saturday afternoon, as we're going to get a break on the field. So with it, we'll take one as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Montana Tech up 7-0. We're back after this.
Hey, Dave Brennan here with Case IH. One of the new options for model year 2024 is going to be an open spoke gauge wheel. That open spoke gauge wheel is going to be available on all 2000 series planters. That's going to help those growers in adverse conditions where they're muddy or high residue conditions minimize that plugging in and around that gauge wheel area. For more information on this new offering of open spoke gauge wheels, visit your local Case IH dealer.
Welcome back here once again. Just take a look at the crowd. They're trying to figure out whether they're going to put jackets on or take them off. We've got a little sun, but a little wind.
Yeah, it's not a terrible problem to have this time of year. And a nice crowd. You know, it took a while for them to flood into the tailgates. Of course, there's still a lot of action out there, but north end zone looks nice and busy, and sideline to sideline here in the bleachers. Good crowd on hand. For, you know, a team that had to travel a lot of miles. I'm assuming, did they bus the whole way, Mayville?
You know, I honestly do not know. We were so neck deep in everything else, I don't think I even thought to ask.
Well, I see the 2 coach buses over there, but you never know if they fly into, I don't know, Bozeman or Butte. I wouldn't know.
4th down. So 4th and 7 here for the Comets. And the offense stays out. Markison will step up under center. Aiden Markison.
They'll take a look up the sideline here, but I would expect maybe a little swing or a pitch. There you go.
They're going to pitch and they're going to throw as that one gets floated up in the air and it's going to fall incomplete. Intended receiver that time was Lathan, or rather it was Cameron Spaeth. And he was not getting anywhere near it as Montana Tech was out on top of it defensively.
When was the last time you saw a halfback pass? Okay, now we've seen Torgerson on that fly motion.
A lot. You might have to go back to like LaProuse to see a halfback pass.
Just a good old toss, sweep, halfback pass.
1st down and 10, Montana Tech after the turnover on downs. Boy, that's a good call. Halfback pass. Okay. We'll get our range of departments to look into that. 1st down and 10, Montana Tech. Wilson out of the shotgun. He's 3 for 3 so far on the day. 1 back and home, 3 receivers. Comets will bring pressure from 5. Wilson swings it out to Wykees Johnson. Johnson has a block. He's out. 1st down yardage +2.
There you go. Just a check swing out of Wykees Johnson. And Montana Tech, from a protection standpoint, is just reading those flex linebackers there as defensive front guys. So they are accounted for in your pass action. The quarterback's got to recognize that. He's got to set his protection against it. And, get the ball delivered. And Wilson's been really efficient so far. 1st down and 10 here for the Digs as they look to the sideline for the play call. Wykees Johnson in the backfield. Michelati wide left. The bottom of your screen in the slot is Torgerson. Long snap count. Pressure coming again. Wilson rolls out, drops it to Wykees. He has a lot of green out there. He's across midfield, spins, and just rolls his way down to the 46-yard line, a gain of 12. I'm going to go out on a limb and say old Wykees is back.
I think Wykees wants the ball.
Yeah.
Take a look here at the Case Construction. Instant replay. Wilson, great vision, rolls out. I love the level of comfort he is finding on the field. Jarrett Wilson, you see him checking off receivers. Things are going in slow motion for him a little bit.
He's gotten very, very confident, and with good reason. He's got a whole group around him that are playing great football.
Milanowski finds a lane. He's across the 40 to the 39. That's a gain of 6.
One of the things that's really tough for really good players in high school is to come in and I don't want this to sound wrong, but there can be a trust issue, right? Mm-hmm. Is this guy going to go the right way? Am I holding the ball a half a second too long, waiting to see, is he going to make the right break here? That kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so when you gain confidence, a lot of times it's just trust. We are officially on the same page, and you can really see it in the results that Jared Wilson has throwing the ball. He's highly efficient, plus 70% completion ratio on the year.
2nd down and 4, and Milanowski is going to get hammered. Good job, good penetration that time by Mayville State. And the first one to him is Thomas, the linebacker. He's a sophomore out of Las Vegas, and that is going to be a loss of 2. That was a great play by that young man.
Yeah, just squared him up, took him to the ground. Milanowski, he's not an easy guy to take down one-on-one. He is a slippery back. A great compliment to Wykees Johnson back there, along with Christian Vetter.
Yeah, and then you throw in Kaikaho, and you've got yourself the whole any kind of back you want, for goodness sake.
We're not even halfway through the room yet either.
No joke. Man in motion is Dylan Snyder. Out of the shotgun. Wilson looking right. He wants Snyder. He has him down the edge. Snyder across the 20, 15-yard line. Dylan Snyder with a pitch and catch. That's going to be a gain of 25, and the Digs are inside the Case IH red zone.
You talked about what they have to do defensively to start this game, and I talked about getting aligned right? Montana Tech throws a ton of shifts at you, and they throw a motion. That's just Snyder across the set. As a defense, you see this all the time, but you combine that with everything else Tech does, from shifts to motions to to resets and all that stuff. They don't even account for Snyder crossing the field. He's wide open going up the sideline. Nobody on top of him at all.
1st down and 10, again inside the Case IH red zone. Ball at the 15-yard line. Wykees Johnson the back. Torgerson in the slot to your left, and on the far left of your screen is Michelati. Pump fake. Wilson rolls the pocket. He has running room. He's going to go. Wilson across the 10, 5. He's going to get to the end zone. Touchdown, Montana Tech. Jared Wilson from 15 out. That's his second rushing touchdown of the year.
It's a game changer. When that quarterback rolls the corner, used to talk, it's a really easy thing to say, but a tougher thing to do. But get turned around and start going north-south. The second he starts going north-south, he gets defenders. Do I cover? Do I come take the quarterback? Mayville State in the secondary chose to cover. Nobody even rallies around Wilson.
And Wykees gives the corner a little bump, gave him a running lane into the end zone for the easy 6, and Montana Tech goes up 13-0. So the kicking unit is in. Casey Countsman is in to put this one up. That one rolls in. It's picked up. Trying to find somewhere to go. They'll lob it down toward the goal line, and that's going to be incomplete. The snap went into the grass. Brett Grange picked it up, tried to make something happen. Nothing there.
It's been an issue a few times this year. They've had trouble from snap to holder, more than a few times this year. I believe there's only been one missed extra point, it was one blocked one, if I remember correctly. But, yeah, it just seems like once a game we get a rolled snap or something that causes an issue.
We've got a timeout, so we'll take one. Montana Tech leading 13-0, ladies and gentlemen. We're back here to the campus of Montana Tech after this.
Media timeout.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Mark, orthopedic surgeon specializing in sports medicine here in Butte, Montana. As an athlete, I think it's important to see a sports medicine specialist as we have a different skill set than your general orthopedist in terms of restoring anatomy and restoring function in an athlete. One of the most kind of rewarding things being here in Butte is being the team doctor for Montana Tech, Western, as well as the local high schools and middle schools here in town. It's very rewarding working with the young athletes.
Trident 5550, the Case IH Combination Application System Solution. A couple of key points for model year 2024 are going to be the addition of a 135-foot spray boom for that enhanced productivity, and then Aim Command Flex 2, the ultimate in advanced spray technology, individual on-off nozzle control, a host of other features making the most of your product application. To learn more, visit your Case IH distributor or caseih.com.
Back here once again at the campus of Montana Tech as the Digs, 6 plays, 68 yards, and 6 points. They lead 13-0 over the Comets out of Mayville State. Frontier Conference East matchup here on a Saturday afternoon. And as always, thanks for joining us here on Digger Vision. Wind is starting to pick up a little bit more and more. And this one going to go 4 yards deep, and the return is going to come out. Across the 10, 15, 20. Big break into the 23-yard line. Nice special teams tackle.
Really nice tackle.
As getting in there, Asher Fettis. Young man out of Belgrade, the redshirt freshman, will get the tackle. Boy, they've been able to create some lanes on the kicking game here today.
I was going to say, I think everybody was a little surprised that ball was, since it was bobbled in the end zone, that it was brought out. But pretty nice job on the return, but good job by Fettis wrapping that runner up and getting him to the ground.
Marcuson out of the steps up to the wing tee. One back, slot goes in motion, handoff will go to the tailback. And a gain of maybe 2 that time for Nuwapa.
That's how she's done. Dive portion, Tel Arthur, right on top of it, squares up Nuwapa, wrestles him to the ground for a 2-yard gain.
2nd down and 8 here for the Comets. Frontier Conference action so far. The Comets have 8 yards on the ground.
You can see it in Montana Tech's defensive front, too. The 4-man surface there, both Newton and Trey Yates. That's as big, as beefy, I guess, as you get in the nose tackle or the defensive tackle for Montana Tech. They're both in there knowing they're going to get a lot of action today.
2nd down and 8. Handoff to Nuwapa again, and that one maybe a yard.
And there you got to see it, engaging with their offensive guards, shedding blocks, and helping on the tackle. And that time, Tel Arthur's up there just to help finish the tackle. But that's Yates and Newton in there just making plays. Now you'll see Dom Umale come in and give Trey Yates a break.
Also in is Kellen Beller back out for Montana Tech. 3rd down and 7 here for the Comets. Pardon me, I have the hiccups. One back is Nuapa. Wing left in motion. Nuapa gets the carry. Actually, they're going to run the pitch option, and he is off. There's a flag down, but Nuapa, actually, not Nuapa, that is Smith. Smith across the 20, and he's going to get into the end zone for the touchdown. But I thought I saw a flag come flying in.
There was a flag. That's the first time they've got to the pitch on the option. That flag already get gobbled up, or is it just hidden behind the players?
Offense, 5-yard penalty.
So it will go against the Comets, and that will come backwards.
I'll tell you what, Smith can pick him up and put him down. If you run away from Christian Hansen, you are running.
That's the truth. Isaiah Smith, a junior out of Riverside, California. Watch the burst of speed, right? Boy, he just gets through the line and is gone.
I couldn't tell. I don't know if they want to run that again. I couldn't tell. Was the quarterback wasn't past the line of scrimmage, because I think that pitch ended up being a forward pitch.
3rd down and 12 here for the Comets.
In Philadelphia rules football, you can do that anytime you want on the field. That's what they played at Boise State.
So up we go to Markuson again, under center. One back. And they're going to run option left. That ball is alive. It's scooped up. Montana Tech has it. Touchdown, Orediggers, as off of the fumble, picking it up is David Lowry. Lowry gets it into the end zone for the score.
That's Graham. Cole Graham.
Oh, is it Cole there? I thought,
you bet.
My goodness, the young freshman out of Capital. Kid is just a freak.
That play didn't look good from the jump. The motion didn't seem timed out. The pitch was hurried. Montana Tech had defenders all over it. And, it almost looked like a choice. Any one of 3 Orediggers could have picked that ball up and walked into the end zone.
So Graham will get the scoop and score for Montana Tech. There is a flag down at the 4.
That's a post-play violation. They're going to get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Somebody had some words there leaving the end zone from the Mayville State side. And, it was just one of those deals. The official clearly threw the flag at one
Illegal
person.
Formation, offense, number 66. That penalty is declined. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, the offense, Mayville State. That penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. Touchdown.
So the touchdown stands, and the Digs will go up 19-0 with the scoop and score on the defense. They throw the pitch out, and it was a sea of green. Watch this. As he pitches this ball out, boy, look at Cole Graham's eyes. He is on that football from word go. Graham will scoop that thing on the bounce and just stroll.
The patience
in.
of a shortstop there. Did you see him read the hop? That's good.
That's
stuff.
Fantastic. Cole Graham with the score, the true freshman. Snap again a little low. They're able to dig it out, and the kick is up and through. Montana Tech leading 20-0. The Digs up over the Comets. We're still in the first quarter. 2:43 left to play here in the first. Thanks for joining us here as we make our way through a Saturday. Taking a look at numbers right now, Montana Tech has run 12 offensive plays for 153 yards. On the other side, the Comets have 6 plays for 11 positive yards so far here in this first quarter.
Yeah, it's just, I'm not going to sit here and dig at that offense, but that is a tough offense in NAIA football to run against this defense. They're solid. They're so fast, but they're thick in the interior. You've heard me talk about Newton, Yates there at defensive tackle. They got a 4-man surface here today. They're clear about what they're going to stop. They got the meat of their defense. They're at 1 technique and 3 technique, or whatever you want to call it. But, and those guys are eating up blocks. They're shedding blocks. The dive portion's been a nightmare so far, and we saw the Comets get to the pitch portion. One time it looked good. It was brought back via penalty, and the next time it looked awful. So Yeah, I mean, this is just a defense that's going to be a nightmare to try and run that offense against.
And with the personal foul, they will be kicking off from midfield. And Ryder Baranowski.
And there's nothing worse. You know, I've called offense against really good, quick defenses, no matter what you want to try. There's nothing worse than trying to sequence plays when you know most of them aren't going to do much.
That's tough. So Baranowski blasts it. So he'll almost took out our camera guy.
I was going to say a little further, he'd have bounced it off my roof down there.
Almost took out our camera guy. You okay? You all right, brother? You all right? We gave him a little heart palpitation there. Look at you with your medal.
Did you see what they gave us? A little coin for the coin toss. This is good stuff.
What? So what? Now let's. So Ron Haskett was down on the field for the coin flip. What years were you on campus?
Mayville
What years
State.
did you play?
I was 85 through 88.
Okay.
I played. I didn't redshirt, so my freshman year, except for the first 2 long trips, I was the kicker offer. I was a kicker, and I played defensive back, and then my sophomore through senior year, I started at safety. 1 year for Paul Giese and 2 years for Bob Green. You know, the best thing. You know, you talk about being lucky. You know, injuries and something like all that stuff. Never missed a start. You know, you think about how lucky you are. You know, you don't. I never had a knee blown. Knock on wood. Never had an ankle blown. Shoulders. Your shoulders get a little banged up and stuff, but nothing ever catastrophic. So yeah, I just a lot of days I just wake up even to this day and thank my lucky stars. I never had any real bad injuries. And then my coaching years. My first coaching year was the fall of 1991. That was when Chuck Forgy and those guys came in.
Okay.
And then my last season was the season of 2002. Okay. So there were 12 coaching seasons, 4 football seasons, and then the rest of it has been next to my lovely partner here.
You got 40 years in, brother.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
37.
I mean, 20 with the two of us. I was telling people of our intense interview process when you and I started, when we talked about you joining me on the broadcast when you were down on the field.
I bullied your wife.
Mayville State, 1st and 10, up to the line of scrimmage, and a nice run that time. Boy, just pinballing up the line of scrimmage.
You know, that's my guy. You know how much I love Peyton Gonzer. He plays the same position I played, wears the same number, but he hits so much better than I did and tackles so much better. I just love watching him play. He's there to, fullback's got a little momentum, a little bit off balance. Gonzer's giving away probably 30 pounds there and just knocks him right on his rear end. Gonzer can bring it.
A gain of 9 on the ground that time. 2nd down and 1. Montana Tech, 5 guys on the defensive front. They'll actually bring a 6th up. Fullback handoff, and he just gets swallowed up. Montana Tech all over at that time as Landon Olson, the big back, if you will, 6'2" sophomore out of Reynolds, North Dakota. He gets the rock and will get back to the line of scrimmage and no more.
Yeah, I'll talk about them at length because they're making a difference. That's Newton and Yates in there. Both come in from the bottom of that pile. They just they're not going to let the dive portion of this offense even give them momentum, move the chains. They don't even want them to have 2nd and 6 here today or 2nd and 5. They want to force them into the pitch. They want to force them into throwing the football. And of course, every defense does, but Montana Tech's doing it by alignment and personnel here. And it's just I just love seeing good coaching and good adjustments.
3rd down and 1. Aiden Markison under center, and quarterback's going to keep it. And by the spot, it looks like he'll get right to the line. He needed to get to the 35, and both linesmen are showing the 35, so he'll get a fresh set of downs. That is a 1st down here for Mayville. And give them a fresh set to try and get after it again. Under a minute left to play here in the first. We certainly knew this was going to be a fast ball game, as the bulk of it was going to be on the ground.
I don't know where did this refereeing crew come in from? Do you know? Are they Spokane?
I don't know.
Because one of them's a former Cutbank guy. He's good friends with my little brothers, and I've got to know him. Casey Ergens. I talked to him before the game. He's on this crew, but I thought he was in that Spokane area.
1st and 10, handoff to the fullback, and again, not going much of anywhere. Flags come flying in as Landon Olson with the carry.
See what the call is here. It comes from one of the guys in the backfield, more than likely going to be a hold.
Oh, and you stepped on my fork.
Illegal block below the waist, number 57.
How's a fat guy supposed to eat if you stepped on my fork?
It can't be that fat. It didn't break.
And it will go against the Comets.
Don't apologize for the fork being on the ground. Just
that is beyond the point.
You know what?
That is not the point I was talking about.
It'd be news if I stepped on your fork up on our counter here. That would be news.
So the penalty will go back big here against Mayville. 15-yard penalty, 1st and 25 for the Comets. Ball at the 20-yard line. They need to get out to the 45. Oh, and you went and got me a new fork? Look at you go. Gosh, you're kind. So 1st and 25 here for the Comets. And they're not going to take a snap. So we have 1 quarter in the books. It's all Montana Tech right now. 20-0 our score. The Digs with 153 yards of offense. And as of right now, the Comets have 13 total yards of offense. We'll take a break. Your second quarter is coming up in just a minute.
Even when you have to weather the storm, even when the unexpected happens, even when the local environment slows things down, we will get you what you need when you need it. We are committed to getting you back in the seat, back to work, back to what matters. At Torgerson's Equipment, we know what matters most: community, family, working every day to make your day more productive.
Generations of coaches. You're a credit to Montana Tech and the coaching profession. Congratulations, Coach Schliemann. Good luck in Saturday's game. Go Orediggers.
Coach Schliemann, hey, it's Coach Morrell here. Hey, congrats, brother. What an incredible honor to go in the Tech Hall of Fame. Can't think of anybody that deserves it more. All the years of service that you put into the Butte community and to Montana Tech. Really proud of you. Happy for you. Enjoy the day, man. Roll Digs.
Coach Lee, huge congratulations, brother. So proud of you and everything you've done here. No one more deserving of this Hall of Fame than you. Big thanks for all you've done for myself, my family, since we've been here at Tech. I really appreciate you and what you stand for every single day. You're a great mentor to me, someone that I know I can always count on. I'm really, really proud and so thankful to be able to share this day with you today. Huge congrats, my man. I love you, brother. Roll Digs.
We're back here once again at the campus of Montana Tech. The Digs up 20-0. Coach Schliemann is on the field, being honored for going into the Hall of Fame yesterday. 30 years as a coach here at Montana Tech. Coach Doug Schliemann. You know, it's amazing. You think 30 years at one institution is just incredible. And then he's only worked for 3 head coaches. I mean, that in its own right is staggering. And hearing from all 3 on the jumbo there, Coach Morrell down to Alabama. Of course, Coach Kyle Sampson and that Bob Green guy, in case you haven't heard of him. That was the quietest Green has ever been, to be honest.
He's now got his second son playing up here at Cade.
Yep.
Is a redshirt freshman in that defensive front out there sharing that moment with his dad. I just they got such a great relationship. They're neighbors of mine. I've watched these kids get raised, and just watching Cade reach over and give his dad a little slap on the rear end. I mean, that's just good stuff. That is so football heavy. It's not even funny.
Mayville State 1st and 10 from their 1st and 25 from the 20-yard line. Deep pitch going to the edge, going nowhere. Track down, going out of bounds. Gonzer out there to make the stop for the Digs.
Yeah, nowhere to go.
Great pursuit.
Nowhere to go. Kovic in pursuit with a good angle. So there's no cutback opportunity here on this pitch. And then you see Gonzer. They're going to try and pick him here, but he gets too good an angle, and it's just too fast to get a seal block on.
Boy, truly, if he gets past Gonzer, you have Graham right there. I mean, there are multiple layers attacking at angles.
They just all run side to side. Well, they run good, period, and they can tackle. That's another important thing on defense. But just getting themselves in position with the speed and good angles, good coaching, it's a nightmare of a defense to move the ball against.
2nd and 25, and they're going to run the option this time. Pitch goes out, ball goes to the ground. It's picked up by Montana Tech. The pitch bounced off of the pitchman and Montana Tech picks it up, and it looks like Burns gets up off the pile.
Yeah, that's Kovic with the ball.
It is Kovic.
Yeah, that's Kovic with the ball, but that ball somebody tried to recover, and it got kicked forward about 5 yards where Kovic was, and he just took advantage of a ball on the loose here.
So Burns stood him up. The ball goes to the ground, and there you go. It just gets bounced around and right into Kovic's hands. Nice job on the camera up top. So Montana Tech will recover their second fumble of the afternoon, leading 20-0. And they'll get a short field at the 18-yard line of Mayville State. Jarrett Wilson out of the shotgun, Wykeese Johnson behind him. And we're going to get a whistle and a stoppage of play.
There's nothing worse when a good play-action pass gets stopped. Mid-stroke, I just sit here. I get so excited. We're going to take a shot to Michelotti or Snyder or Torgerson in the end zone, and the thing gets whistled dead. Now they'll probably just come back to an inside zone.
You know, you're getting better about your, you just still aren't much of a run guy. You know, I mean, man. 1st and 10, play action. He'll go with it again. Jared Wilson drops it off to Pierce. Derek Pierce inside the 5, down to the 3. Pierce at tight end gets the pass. I was talking about him in the pregame. He's just he is such an asset. You know, he's one of those guys where, you know, a lot of teams will have, you know, a blocking tight end and a passing tight end. He's both. You know, Derek is a great blocker. He's intelligent as heck. He's huge, but he has soft hands, can catch the football. Tremendous tight end for the Digs.
Dad's a coach.
Yep.
He is, you remember that video that came out, and then God Made a Farmer by Paul Harvey?
Yeah.
That's what I want to do, the same thing with God Made a Tight End and do it with Derek Pierce.
Torgy gets the pitch, and Torgerson will rumble in. So Torgerson will get the touchdown, and he'll continue to add those all-purpose yards onto his tally. Montana Tech leading 26-0 as people starting to put some jackets on. The temperature starting to drop just a little bit here in the mining city.
Yeah, just another way Torgerson and this offense can get you. Just quick little fly motion end around. That goes as a touchdown pass. Was that ball just tossed forward?
Yep. So if that's the case, if it's a pass, that's his 7th touchdown reception of the year. Again, snap a little low, but they're able to dig it out, and they're able to kick it through. 13-11 left to play in the first half. Montana Tech leading 26-0 as the Digs all over Mayville State. Frontier Conference action, Montana Tech on the road next week as they will go to Rocky Mountain College. Round 2 with the Battling Bears. And
yeah, we talked about that.
This is so scary. This is so scary. The FCC is salivating at the two of you within this range of a microphone.
Oh, a couple choir boys back here. Oh, yeah. Streitz and Manzani.
Yeah, I think both of them are actually banned from Las Vegas. Well, they certainly are from Jackpot.
They have to have their fun. I'm sure they're both going to be at Mass here at 4 p.m.
I would assume so. We are making our way through the second quarter. Frontier Conference action. 2 turnovers for Mayville has been a huge factor as of right now.
Yeah, they're getting to the portion, the high risk portion of that offense, right? The pitch, and you can do it all day in practice, but you get the sweat of Cole Graham and Wyatt DeVos and Tell Arthur and Kellen Beller up there in your face as you're trying to make a read, you're trying to plant, you're trying to pitch at the quarterback. I mean, a lot of bad things can happen, and they are happening.
Again, thanks for joining us. Let me, when I'm done eating, I'll get the scores up from the other games. This plate of food is a little bit more important than that right now.
You got a well-balanced meal there in front of you.
Montana Tech, 2 plays, 18 yards, as you see. 57 seconds as the drive summary with Tucker Transportation. 13-11 left to play here in this first half. Montana Tech, 176 yards of total offense. And the Comets with 11 total yards of offense as of right now.
And the benefits of a game, you get out on a team early, and who knows what's going to happen from this point forward. But if you're Montana Tech, you're already starting to think about, who do we want to maybe get a series off or two? Who could benefit, from a little bit of combat here? Get a set of eyes on a few of these younger guys. Just mix them in. I always like to mix them in with the number ones, right? Mm-hmm. Just onesie, twosie. It's a lot of times it's unfair. You put in your backup offense and you get backup both front guys, and and backup running backs and backup receivers. Put them in with the elite, the cream of the crop, and let them go.
Well, and remember, you get basically 2 games for red shirts. If you have an athlete that is redshirted, I think it's 20% of your total games, so you basically get 2 games for a red shirt. So if you've got guys dressed, a real opportunity to get them in, get them, reps outside of practice, and certainly, see what they're going to look like as the future of your team. Kickoff with the wind is bye-bye. That thing's going to end up in the Torgerson area. Drinks and beverages and food for all. Have we ever been invited into the Torgerson tailgate?
Oh, I think I coached the kid, right? I coached Dad. I'm hoping I wouldn't need a ticket to enter that gate, but you never know. I think if assistant coach Cody Torgerson had his way, I wouldn't get to go in there.
Joking aside, I think Dad was trying to get us to do pregame from down there year 1, so maybe we'll make that happen one year.
I have a lot of fun with his son on the coaching staff.
So first down and 10 here for the Comets. Slot in motion. They're going to throw the football. Standing up. Deep ball down the middle. Picked off. Gonzer gets under it, and that one's intercepted. The 3rd turnover of the afternoon, and Gonzer gets the pick. Montana Tech will get the football back.
Great play on this ball. He has to go horizontal downfield to get his hands on this ball. But the important thing is he's playing single high safety, and he doesn't fall asleep on the play action. Stays as deep as the deepest. He's in good position. Makes a great play on the ball, secures the catch. 2nd
interception of the year for Gonzer, and Montana Tech will take over at their 45-yard line. 2 minutes gone here in this 2nd quarter. And here comes the offense out. Jared Wilson at quarterback. Dylan Snyder toward the top of the formation.
See what they do here. Let's see if they get the ball back in the gut of the tailback here, if they continue to take what the defense has given them, which is a lot of play action, wide open stuff.
They're going to air it up after play action. Torgerson down the right side. That's another fresh set of downs at the 28-yard line of the Comets. That's a big play. You're looking at a gain of 36 there for Torgy. And just wide open.
You know what I love is everybody's got their thing after they make a play, the little hand gestures and the first down stuff. What happened? I remember Quinn McQuarrie gets that big scramble first down here, 8-10 years ago on this field, and gets up and gives a simple first down signal. And he gets, there are about 8 flags on that play?
Yep. First down and 10, split backs here. The handoff is going to go left side. Milanowski across the 20-15. Stiff arm down to the 11-yard line. Nate Milanowski. Nice run by that young man. That's going to be a gain of 17.
Puts this offense into the Case IH red zone. I know you've been waiting for me to say that.
Look at you go. So 1st and 10 from the 12. 12 minutes left to play here in the first half. All Montana Tech right now. The Digs up over 200 yards of total offense.
Tech, another adjustment. Of course, they're throwing the ball really effectively and efficiently in the play action game, but just running the perimeter. You can see the adjustment they're making to these squeezed in linebackers, these flex linebackers. They're going to the perimeter.
Hand off to Milanowski. He'll get hit in the backfield, and he will go down.
Hasn't been great for him, when they've tried to go tackle to tackle. Obviously, Mayville State isn't going to let them go there. But they've adjusted, and they're running the perimeter, and they're throwing the soft boot action, play action game, drags, corner routes.
Hudson Stone there to make the stop, along with Devin Woods, both linebackers for this Comet team. 2nd down and 11, we'll say, for the Digs.
We're about due for a Torgy end-around touchdown pass as well, right? Been a couple games.
It has been, and I'm, of course, the president of Give Charlie Kurgan the Rock. And Kurgan's in the backfield, so give the big man the ball. He'll lead the charge on the block. Handoff is going to go to the edge. White Keys Johnson hurdles the pylon, and he will get in for the score. White Keys Johnson hurdles into the end zone, and Montana Tech is going to get the touchdown.
The most impressive thing is look who's into the back of the end zone. Leading blocking, Chase Meyer.
Watch this. Let's take a look at the instant replay. Look at the patience here. And look at Meyer out in front. That's fantastic. Great hurdle over the pylon, and Meyer just keeps shoving his guy to the back of the end zone. Run down there, give him a helmet sticker, will you? Kick is up, and the kick is good.
That team, when they watch film of this, that team will just erupt in that meeting room, watching Chase Meyer run a guy to the back pylon.
That was fantastic. Frontier Conference action here on Digger Vision. 34-0 as Montana Tech rolling right now. 18 plays, 231 yards. Jared Wilson is 9 of 9 for 168 yards. He has 2 touchdowns so far in the first half. On the ground, leading rusher is Milanowski. 4 carries for Milanowski, 22 yards. Wykees Johnson, 3 carries, 19 yards. And Jared Wilson, 1 for 15. So Montana Tech will kick off here. The clouds are starting to get a little bit lower. We might see
snow.
Yeah, we might see some snow.
It looks more like snow than rain.
It really does. So we'll just close our window here at the booth and turn the heater up a little bit.
But on the bright side, the middle of the week, it's supposed to get back up over 50 degrees around here. So another nice week.
And, of course, we know that historically it'll be like 34 below for Halloween.
I get to mow my yard a couple more times.
Oh, you lucky bet.
So fun.
Kickoff 4 yards deep. The return is going to come out again, and it's not going anywhere this time. Huge hit delivered at the 11-yard line.
That's Burns, right, Jared?
My goodness. That is just a monster.
Justin Weber, nice hit. Weber plays a lot in that secondary.
He does.
When they do have nickel and dime stuff in.
Should see a great angle on this. Nice job, Scott. As the return here on the left side, watch both of these guys come in. Bingo.
And we talked about, the success. We even joked about it at the last home game. Give this kickoff coverage team a little slack. They haven't had to cover many returns this year. Yeah, and now they've seen a couple, and it's, you got to give them a little break. They obviously made the adjustment on the sideline, and Weber comes in and polishes the returner.
First down and 10 Comets. Handoff going to go to the wingman going right, and he is going nowhere. Handoff to Simmers, and Simmers is going to lose 5.
Kovic's playing some football there at outside. I mean, he's just fast. We talked about him last year when he'd come in relief of Whitcomb when he was around here. And remember watching him play up in Helena. Just a good football player. He plays well with his hands. He's a good tackler in space. He's physical. He's like Gonzer. He plays, 15, 20, 25 pounds heavier than he is. And just built to play this game.
So Markison under center. 1 back at home. They'll stay in the wing tee. And ball going right. Markison is across the 10 down to the 12-yard line. He'll get the yards back. It's going to be a gain of about 5. And there was a big collision right at the end of that play. And a player getting up slowly here for Montana Tech.
And let's not just discount the overall preparation coming in. Defensive coordinator Montana Allen having a plan. What has Mayville State had? 1 first down?
2.
Or 2 first downs, excuse me. But, that's not just players making plays. That's guys in that defensive room scheming and by alignment and assignment just shutting this offense down.
9:28 left to play here in the first half. Injured player down here for Montana Tech. The trainer's out with him. As always, thanks for joining us again for Montana Tech. Remember, next week, Rocky Mountain College is the place. Down to Billings.
39 seconds.
As Montana Tech will be on Herb Clint Field. They'll get ready to roll.
I still haven't been there since they installed the turf.
Really? Okay. It's I like that game. It's a fun game because it's one that it feels like Rocky gets really amped up for, and we have so many fans that way. I mean, the tailgate in Billings is.
It's good, and it's always well attended. I always liked it when it was in a little better or warmer time of year.
Yeah,
because that hillside just gets absolutely peppered with fans. But yeah, you're right. It's always well attended. Montana Tech always has a great presence of fan and support there.
So we have a injury timeout on the field. 9:39 left to play here in the first half. Montana Tech 18 offensive plays, 231 yards. They have 12 first downs thus far. They have run the ball 9 times for 63 yards. Jared Wilson has thrown for $168 and a pair of scores.
That was the hardest I was ever hit. Was on Herb Clint Field.
Really?
Yeah, I was chasing a toss sweep Rocky back when I played, and I was running to the sideline. This was back when you could peel back block. And Rocky, they had a nice team that year. We ended up beating them, but They had a nice tailback from Sims, Jimmy Good, who I played against in high school as well. But I was trying to get an angle on him on the sideline, and Donnie Griggs, one of the receivers, came back and hit me, and it felt like I was afloat for 5 seconds. I remember just landing at the base of the bowl, right at the base of the hill.
David Lowry slowly to the sidelines. Pitch going to go wide left. Head down, going nowhere. Tremendous pursuit again as they get it out to McGregor. McGregor just tried to turn it south, and there was nothing there.
You know when I say nobody's having more fun than Levi Torgerson out playing this game? On defense, there's nobody having more fun than Peyton Gonzer. Watch him come up and fill. He's a good tackler. He's smart. He gets into the runner's legs, always gets into the runner's legs. And, he can arrive in bad humor, too. He'll go upstairs and pop somebody. But he knows when he needs a tackle, he goes low and secures the tackle.
The last 2 series now for the Comets, they have lost a yard each time. They're down to 10 positive yards here on the game thus far. Montana Tech leading 34-0. And the punting unit is in. Punter about 4 yards deep. Wobbly kick going left. Bounces at the 48. Single hop by Torgerson. He'll adjust. Turns it upfield. He's across the 40. Torger at the 35. He'll get hammered at the 30-yard line. Torgy with a nice return down near the 29-yard line of the Comets. And Montana Tech will take over. He feels like a robot at times. Like, I get the Terminator vision where it's like, kind of targeting things. And then once he decides to go, it's just on.
When he's running, you'll see him hesitate,
return.
Right? You'll see his hesitate.
Number 39, the return team.
So a holding penalty.
You'll see his head
first down.
Stop, and he'll maneuver. And it's almost like he's just trying to smell the end zone, doesn't it? It's just like I could catch a whiff of that black paint.
He is already fast approaching the all-purpose yard record here at Montana Tech. That record just shy of 2,000 yards, and he entered the game about 400 yards behind it. And a whole lot of football left.
The question that I want to ask before sure, you can come here and play basketball, but where were you when football season arrived? I mean, he clearly loves the game. He took his brother getting home or hurt for him to come out and help this team out. And God, what an asset.
Wilson in trouble. Wilson is going to get sacked. So Mayville will get the sack that time, and dragging him down is going to be Green. Jaden Green, the junior D lineman out of Henderson, Nevada. There is a whole lot of Nevada on this roster for the Comets. So that's going to be a loss of 8 and bring up 2nd and 18.
Send those guys to Nevada on recruiting trips.
No joke.
They got a chance to pay for their trip, Very optimistic.
Very
recruiting
optimistic.
Staff.
2nd and 18. One back is Wykees Johnson with 4 receivers. Wilson out of the shotgun. Comets bring 5 loosely up to the line of scrimmage. And they'll adjust, and we're going to get a timeout, I believe, before the delay of game.
Timeout, Montana Tech.
So Montana Tech will call a timeout. 7:40 left to play here in the first half. Frontier Conference action here on a Saturday. We'll take a quick break. We're back here, ladies and gentlemen, right after this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Reisig, an orthopedic surgeon here in Butte, Montana with specialty training in foot and ankle. I chose orthopedic surgery because I get to actively help my patients enjoy their lives. The human body in general is just really amazing. The way everything works as a unit, the way the bones, tendons, muscles all work to function and just make people move is something that I've always found incredibly fascinating. And there's nothing more rewarding than seeing a patient get better because of the work we did together.
Back here once again after the timeout. Handoff going to go to Torgerson. He'll reverse field. He'll get a block from his quarterback. He's across midfield and out of bounds at the 49-yard line. So Jared Wilson puts on the brakes, come back, and gave him a nice block.
And we've seen Wilson do that before this year. In fact, he was ready to do it. Watch him.
Yeah, take a look here. As we go back up, you'll see Wilson enter the picture right here. Gives them just enough for Torgy to clear the edge. That'll bring up 3rd and 9 here for the Orediggers. 7:08 left to play here in this first half. Montana Tech up 34-0. 225 yards of total offense for the Digs. Split backs, 3 receivers, Torgerson in motion. Wilson going to roll the pocket to his right. Remember, he's a southpaw. Torgy downfield, and the pass caught at the 36-yard line as a haul in the play for Montana Tech is Manu Mello. The young man from down to Helena will haul in the reception, and that's going to move the chains for Montana Tech.
Good adjustment by Mello. Crossing the field here, he starts to get a little shallow, separate from the defense, and give his quarterback a set of numbers to throw the ball to. And
it's a well thrown ball, and that's a hard throw. He's throwing across his body as a southpaw,
and he does that really well. He's done that portion of the throw, the hard throws running against his body all year long.
1st down and 10 here for the Digs. Wykees Johnson in the backfield, 2 receivers left, 1 to the right. Bottom of your screen, receiver wide is Michelotti. He's going to air it up. Gives a deep ball to Michelotti. They go up, and that one's going to fall incomplete.
A lot of hand play there. Both sides, both Michelotti
and Burks. Actually, no, that's Macklin out there at corner.
Yeah, Laquan Macklin. Yeah, but good job in coverage. They're forcing their guys to play tight man coverage as well, and Macklin was in good position there, made a nice play on the ball. Once it arrived, kind of into Michelotti's hands.
2nd down and 10 here for the Digs. Trips receivers left. And Wilson's going to set up the back screen. Ball goes into the hands of his tailback across the 30 down to the 29-yard line.
Good job by Milanowski there. He took on 2 attempted tackles, stayed on his feet, was able to pick up about 6 more yards after that ball hit his hands. But a good job of keeping his balance and fighting off tackles.
Yeah, that he turns right into the hands of the linebacker there in Devin Woods, and he's able to shake him and get good positive yards. 3rd down and 4 here for the Orediggers. 5:29 left to play here in the second. They're going to run split backs. Milanowski lefts. Kurgan right. Heavy formation up front. Play action. Wilson rolls the pocket. He's going to go. Wilson across the 25-20, 15 down to the 10. Wilson at the 5, and he goes out of bounds there.
That's so tough. Michelotti's up there. He runs his receiver inside the 5, or his cornerback inside the 5-yard line. And then he recognizes that he's got to stock block here. He has to maintain a block probably for 4 seconds here.
Yeah.
And does a great job of keeping his defender off of Wilson right until he's inside the 5.
A 25-yard run for Jared Wilson. 1st and goal from the 5 inside the Case IH red zone. Wilson out of the shotgun. Milanowski left. Kurgan right. Awaiting the snap. Jared Wilson. Handoff is going to go to Milanowski. They'll stretch right. He gets past 1 defender, gets stood up at the 4, leans down to the 3-yard line.
Yeah, I'm settled on it. He runs the ball a lot like Jay LaProuse.
I agree.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
A lot of his mannerisms, his cuts, jump cuts, hand motions, stiff arm type stuff. He looks a lot like LaProuse.
And that is a hell of a compliment for those who are unawares. 2nd down and goal from the 3. Our Hall of Famers starting to make their way down to the fence. They'll be honored at halftime. Hello, big boy. Johnny McClain, our chancellor at Montana Tech, strolling in. Out of the shotgun, Wilson. Play action, rolls right. He has all day into the back of the end zone. Pierce with the score. Montana Tech goes up 40-0.
And God made a tight end.
Pierce,
how was
his
that?
3rd touchdown of the year. I think it was a little forced asking.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But that's what, it's funny what goes through your head all the time. But
that's amazing. They clear. You see that even on the instant replay. Everybody in this whole field goes left. They come back to the right, and he had so many targets there, he didn't know what to do with himself. Kicking unit is in. And the snap and hold are good. The kick is up, and it is good. 41-0. The Digs all over the Comets. Montana Tech with 281 yards of total offense. They lead 41-0. We'll take a quick timeout, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back here right after this.
Even when you have to weather the storm, even when the unexpected happens, even when the local environment slows things down. We will get you what you need, when you need it. We are committed to getting you back in the seat, back to work, back to what matters. At Torgerson's Equipment, we know what matters most. Community, family, working every day to make your day more productive.
Hey, welcome back here once again to the campus of Montana Tech. Frontier Conference football here on Digger Vision. Paul Panisco, the lovely and talented Ron Heskett, here on a Saturday afternoon. Our tremendous crew as well as the weather starting to turn. And the kicking unit, and this one's just gone. Blast that one into the north end zone. I'm not going to call anyone out by name, but one of our cameramen, as I was coming across with gear and, trying to get things set up this morning, he had his camera gear out, his tripod was up, his camera was there, and he had all of his other stuff kind of getting ready to go. And the one thing that I noted that he had on the ground was a thing of sunscreen. And I may have pointed out and made fun of him for the sunscreen. And, hopefully the sunscreen can be used as maybe a nice coat as well. So 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line. Hand off to the fullback straight ahead. Gets a yard. I do believe that time it was Olsen. And just not much there right now.
Just a good job of getting down the line of scrimmage, reading that dive. That's Cole Graham from the wide side defensive end. Just got down and he got, just on all fours, got into the running back's legs and just kind of flipped him up. And it looked like Yates and Newton did the rest.
Graham entered this game with 20 tackles. He has 4 sacks, 5.5 tackles for loss, and he's a true freshman.
That's incredible.
He is a menace. 2nd down and 7. Man in motion, fullback gets it again. Olsen across the 30. That's the most daylight he has seen. He's going to get off the edge, pick up 5.
That's Gonzer coming up. He's just he's seeing a lot of single high. Last line of defense here, but Peyton Gonzer's doing a nice job of getting out of his back pedal, reading, getting up, and making tackles. Such an asset. When you got a safety that can meet the ball, starting at 12 to 15, maybe yards off the line of scrimmage, but they can read, react, and meet the football there at or near the line of scrimmage. It's a gift.
Comets.
You have to crave contact.
Get the play in from the sidelines. Play clock down to 5.
We had a great Comets discussion before the game. I'll tell you in a bit.
1 receiver on each side, and they are going to call a timeout. Boy, they were deep in the play clock that time.
This is their 3rd.
And forced to call a timeout. 2:17 left to play here in the first half.
Me and Brian Torgerson, the dad of all these Torgersons, were laughing before the game. We both made this observation. The Frontier Conference now has Coyotes, we're both Shelby Coyotes, and we were both in the junior high Shelby Comets.
Oh,
and now we got Comets and Coyotes in the Frontier. It's like they're all just coming back to us.
I didn't know you. Oh, I'm done. No,
I don't know a lot of Comets.
I almost said something I might have regretted, but maybe not. Whoop! And then I just sat in my lunch. I need to go home. 2:17 left to play here in this first half.
That mac and cheese off there.
Isn't that's a lovely bit of karma right there, isn't it? And mac and cheese. 41-0, Montana Tech with the lead. Comets forced to take a timeout.
I would have probably made that mistake had you brought me in a chair.
3rd down and 2. 1 back at home, and Olsen, they're going to run the pitch out to the edge. Some blocking out in front. Across the 40, cut back at the 45. That's 1st down yardage here for the Comets, as that's going to be a gain of 12.
I'm sorry. But Peyton Gonzer just got lit up there on the edge.
Here you go. Take a look at the instant
lead
replay
block
here. As the pitch goes out, that's as clean of a pitch as we've seen. Boy, that's a big block.
This is the 2-minute timeout.
Gonzer gets stood up. And we have 2 minutes left to play here in the first half.
But Gonzer spends the rest of the time chasing him down to knock him back on his rear end. He's ornery.
2-minute timeout is with us. We'll take a break. We're back here in just a moment. Back here once again to the campus of Montana Tech, Frontier Conference football on a Saturday. As winds out of the south-southwest, storm coming in out of the south-southwest. And we'll see when it arrives. First down at 10 here for the Comets, the 2-minute timeout. Comets up to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, not giving up, still trying to execute. We've seen a couple good positive plays, one out of the dive portion of this offense, and then one coming off the pitch on the last play. See if Montana Tech adjusts their defense and, just starts to stand their ground a little tighter here.
20 plays, 32 yards so far here for the Comets. And the bulk of that on this series. They had 10 yards of total offense coming into this series. They have moved the chains a couple times. And the Comets up to the line of scrimmage. We've seen 2 passing attempts out of them today. One was intercepted, one incomplete. Hand off to the fullback. He's got running room across the 40, 35 down to the 30-yard line. The big man with the rock that time, Landon Olson, will pound his way forward.
It looks like they may have widened that mesh point on the dive a gap.
Okay.
That looked a little wider there.
Yep.
Just an adjustment you can make in this offense. I don't know much about that gap play or the dive portion of option football, but...
First and 10 from the 30. Olson gets it again. He's going to just power his way forward. He's down to the 10. Olson running strong right now for the Comets. He's a 6'2" sophomore out of Reynolds, Nevada.
He's a load, that's for sure.
They list him at 6'2", 218. And quickly to the line of scrimmage at the 10-yard line. First and goal from the 10. Slot left in motion. Keep giving the ball to Olson. He'll push his way down to the 5. Yeah, make no mistake about it, 42 is going to get the ball here.
Now they're going to run him off for a breather.
So Olson will check out.
They used to hear me talking all the time about, the game of football and how it can differ, when you break things into quarter and half seconds and feet and inches and not yards. And this is just almost looks like just a gap differential.
Slot left in motion, handoff, and he is in trouble. This is going to be a big loss. They'll take him down at the 15-yard line. And that is, that's going to be a big loss, a loss of 10.
Somebody's there really early to cut off that hand sweep. I think it may have been Graham, but I could be mistaken. But, yeah, quick redirect to that running back, nowhere to go.
Quickly to the line of scrimmage they come. Pump fake, wants to throw it, airs it up, pass is intercepted, Burns steps right in front of it, Burns down the left sideline, 30, 35, 40, Burns down to the 50-yard line, and he will truck his way to the 38-yard line. So Montana Tech will get their second interception. Damon Burns, the senior, will get the interception.
Got a flag back there, maybe a block in the back on the return here, or a hold. But a great play by Burns. Markison never saw him, saw his receiver breaking on the out route, and Burns just stepped right in front of it. I think the return's probably going to come back, but I think that flag came after the ball was picked.
The ruling on the field is an interception. After the interception, holding by the return team, 19.
So holding on the Diggs.
It wasn't much of a hold. I think Burns still runs away from that would-be tackler, but you could see... Just as Burns got the ball and got up to speed, somebody just behind him maybe grabbed a little piece of a jersey if you watch here.
Boy, watch Burns turn into this thing, and he's shocked that ball's going to get him right in the gut. Is that it right at the top?
Yeah,
yep,
it isn't much of a hold. But could have been enough to keep the offensive guy from turning around and tripping Burns up.
First and 10 from the 5-yard line.
Got a little
19 seconds left.
Wind's kind of a crosswind, but it's more at your back. It looks like Montana Tech's going to take this to the locker room.
Yep. So they'll take a knee, and this one will go into the locker rooms. Montana Tech leading 41-0. Frontier Conference action here on Digger Vision. The Digs all over the Comets here on a Saturday. It's Hall of Fame weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the Hall of Famers and get you ready for the second half after this.
Hey, Dave Brennan here with Case IH. One of the new options for model year 2024 is going to be an open spoke gauge wheel. That open spoke gauge wheel is going to be available on all 2000 series planners.
Welcome back, our Valley Bank punt, pass, and kick. It was a heck of a punt. And now we go to the pass portion of the punt, pass, and kick.
That's a really nice punt.
That one comes out a little wobbly, but the wind is going to help. That lands at about the 36-yard line, so you're going to need a little bit of a wind assist here.
I just love it. I don't even know who our participant
I don't
is
either.
But hopefully she played soccer, and this is just a drill job. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Pounds, it would be fantastic. So for a nice chunk of change, she has to hit a 37-yard field goal. Matt Steppen, her holder, and that's got to be the holder's fault from this angle.
He's pressing pretty hard on it.
That's, gosh, heck of a punt to get things started, though. So our punt, pass, and kick behind us. Maybe you should go down and try that. Now that you've done the coin flip, I think you should try the punt, pass, and kick, Haskett.
The first one would be a torn hip flexor, and then there'd be the rotator cuff would go, and then on this one it would certainly be the groin would be gone.
The part that I would love about all of it is if you did it, I would mic you up, certainly. Like, I would put a mic on you while you're out there, and just so we can hear all of the Dr. Joven would just be hearing just ching, ching, ching.
You already heard the heavy breathing earlier when I had to run up 14 stairs.
Frontier Conference football here on a Saturday afternoon. Montana Tech up 41-0. The Digs have run 27 offensive plays, 280 yards. On the other side, the Comets 25 offensive plays for 72 yards, and the bulk of those on that last series. They had the ball that last series. Going into that series, they only had 10 yards of total offense, and they were able to honestly put together a nice drive, and all of it was Olsen out of the backfield on straight, just dive straight ahead.
You know, we go into these halftime talks, and you always ask me, what do you think offensively made the Mayville State Comets are going to talk about in the locker room? I think the discussion's already been made. Something was corrected on that sideline, and I think it may be just a gap difference on the give portion of that option football. I think it may be something that simple. Maybe they're going a little wider, employing some kind of a double team or something, but there's clearly more running room there against that defense that has been exposed, and that's something they've greased up on the sideline over there. So I think that portion of it is going to, they're going to force Montana Tech's hand, and maybe that will soften the pressure they're getting on the perimeter run or the pitch portion of that offense. So we'll see going into the second half if that helps develop option 2 and option 3 off that option football.
Individually for Montana Tech, Jared Wilson right now is 11 of 12. He's completed 11 of his 12 passes for 184 yards. He has completed 92% of his passes, 3 touchdowns. He has been sacked once. On the ground, Jared Wilson, 4 carries for 41. Milanowski has 6 carries for 29. Levi Torgerson, 2 carries for 19 yards. And Johnson, Wykees Johnson, 3 carries for 19 yards. He has a rushing touchdown as well. Receiving, Michelati, 2 big catches, 63 yards and a score. Levi Torgerson, 3 catches, 36 yards and a score as well. And we'll get back to that in a minute, but we've got our Hall of Famers out. Adam Greger is the first to be recognized. Adam graduated 2014, if memory serves correct. Just shy of 2,000 points in his career. In my opinion, he had the sweetest pull-up jumper from the elbow that I have seen in that gym.
Yeah, he was a slayer.
Boy, undefendable when he went vertical. Just a tremendous player. The heartbeat of his team when he was here, and just a tremendous guy, Adam Greger, into our Hall of Fame. Now, Mitzi Daly brings everybody. Hi, Mitz. The whole Daly clan is with her.
And it could very well be thousands upon thousands of Tech, former Tech students there. Everybody knew Mitzi, everybody, and she knew everybody. She was awesome, such a friendly face and a helpful person in the student union building up here at Montana Tech, and such a great honor and so deserved. And it's just nice that they're thinking that way up here at the Harvard on the Hill.
Corey Crum is next. Corey Crum, volleyball, a middle from Anaconda. She stands 5 feet 8 inches tall. and she played like she was about 6'6". Just an absolute force. Hit over 400 her senior year, was an All-American. She is just an outstanding player. And one of those, much like Gregor and much like all these people, she was the building blocks of where we're at today. This volleyball team right now and Coach Solomon, they have been in the national tournament 5 of the last 7 years. And the reason is because of players like Crum.
Yeah, she was, and when she was involved up here at Montana Tech, she was involved heavily in the youth volleyball throughout the town or throughout the city. And she was so good with even my daughter and their friends back when they were in grade school. She was just an asset to have outside of her uniform and court up here at Montana Tech. But she brought it to the whole community, and just a great person, to kind of spread the word of Montana Tech volleyball up here. It's just a great steward, I guess, of the school and the program.
Doc Nick DeJoven was next out there for Montana Tech, and just an incredible guy. Picked up his family, came here to Montana from Pittsburgh, started the Montana Sports Medicine Group, and we are blessed to have him, and the things he has done here on this campus is incredible.
I liked him up here, too, because he would talk to assistants. You'd be curious about the health of maybe your number 1 or number 2 receiver when I coach receivers or quarterbacks, and he'd tell coaches the cold hard truth, whether he thought they could play or didn't, in a way that he was so professionally groomed, right, both with his sports fellowship, medically, and the fact that he'd come from the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. You trusted him, and he really knew how to communicate with coaches.
Pat Hansen, last but not least for Montana Tech, of course, Big Pat, the all-time rushing leader in Montana Tech history, leads and carries as well. And Pat Hansen, the best quote I've ever heard about him, and we're there to witness it. From head coach Chuck Morrell, who is now on the Alabama coaching staff, he said if he didn't have Pat Hansen, please use a whole lot of expletives here, because trust me, he used a whole lot. He said we basically wouldn't have won a game.
Right. Yeah, the pride of Ekalaka, Montana.
There you go.
Just a great human being, and certainly a huge talent there in that backfield for 4 strong years. Just tough. I used to talk about Lander Smith, and I used to say, the guy just appears to be unhurtable.
Mm-hmm.
You never saw him get up limping, banged up, bruised, and he played the most physical style. Hansen was a lot the same way. You never saw him really bumped and bruised either. He was great in the running game, and he was great out of the backfield catching the ball. Just a huge asset. And a great asset for the alumni base up here at Montana Tech as well. Not just a great running back, petroleum engineer, very smart, driven individual.
Mining engineer.
Mining engineer.
Yep. I don't want Scott to come running up here and swing at us. So mining engineer. We are at the half. Montana Tech leading Mayville 41-0. Frontier Conference East action here on Digger Vision. We'll take a break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll come back. We'll run you through the numbers again. Get you ready for the second half and more right after this. Welcome back here once again to the campus of Montana Tech. Bob Green Field as the Digs taking on the Comets out of Mayville State, second time in history, and the Digs right now in control, 41-0. As we mentioned earlier, the Comets have 72 yards of total offense on 25 plays. 62 of those yards for the Comets came on their final drive, and the bulk of it was on the shoulders of Olsen. He had 8 carries, 65 yards. And certainly the leading rusher in basically the offense right now of the Comets.
I wish I knew more about line play to see if it really is just a gap differential on the the mesh point on the dive portion of that offense, because I don't know, it was pretty clear the running room difference, and it's the same personnel in there defensively with essentially the same fronts they've been running. Could it be just better execution? Sure, but I think there were some coaching points made over there that they worked on, or at least drew up and said, I mean, what do you got to lose, right?
Yep.
You're down 41-0. But we'll see what they do to expand that triple option offense here in the second half and see if they can at least get some points on the board. But Montana Tech, there's nothing worse than trying to get points on the board against a defense that has a shutout going.
Yes.
That's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, is because they want to maintain that shutout. And even though you'll see a lot of young personnel, maybe offensively for Montana Tech here in the second half, that number one defense generally has to try and stay in there to maintain the shutout.
Other scores in the Frontier Conference here underway. You've got Dickinson playing at Valley City. That game is tied at 14 apiece right now. So Dickinson at Valley tied 14 all in the third quarter. Rocky Mountain College doubling up Northern right now, 28-14. That one also in the third quarter. And let me see if I can find any more here from our conference.
I didn't see who Western was playing. I know Carroll's
Simpson.
off.
Western is at Simpson. They're up 7-0. Just about the end of the opening quarter. And then the other one we have later on tonight, College of Idaho, actually 2 night games tonight. College of Idaho is at Eastern at 6 o'clock, and Southern Oregon is at Arizona Christian at 7 p.m. So that's how things look. The bulk of the West action will be played under the lights over on the left coast. Get ready to roll.
That's all right. They're probably experience good late or early fall weather right now. So, yeah, nice evening.
One thing we were talking about off the air is penalties. Montana Tech. Penalties have been such a big issue this year. It's been certainly the biggest check mark against Montana Tech in all facets this year. 5 penalties, 115 yards for Montana Tech in penalties in the first half. On the other side, the Comets have 4 penalties for 28 yards.
And believe it or not, that's a few penalties for Montana Tech. Most programs wouldn't like 5 penalties for a $1.15 or whatever it was in the first half of football, but
compared to where we've been, compared to where we've been, that's fantastic.
And we can laugh about it because they're undefeated, right?
Yep. That is certainly the case. 41-0 our score. Montana Tech taking on the Comets as we get ready for the second half. Talk about what you're talking about, the Comets. Like you said, that you expected that to kind of come at the half, but they might have gotten onto that a little bit earlier. What else are they discussing? What do you think you might see here in the second half?
Well, they're going to be forced to throw the ball in some capacity. We haven't seen a ton of it yet, and it's been kind of obvious why. But they're probably talking about maybe a couple ways that they can advance the ball through the air safely for their quarterback so he's comfortable. Can they get guys open? But, I think it's more executing what you are here to do. Dive, quarterback keep, quarterback pitch. Some toss stuff, some running the perimeter, some counter or lead action out of your back. But, you just want to get to your core stuff and just start to execute it. And mainly because I think they'll reside. They're probably in there saying, hey, guys, we're probably not going to win the game. Can we try and win the third quarter? Can we try and win the fourth quarter? Win the second half? But Montana Tech defensively can be a measuring stick for you. Can you go out and execute against a really good defense and move the chains, maybe put some points on the board? and show improvement. That's all you want to see at this juncture. Just go out and show improvement. And I think those are going to be the steps that they're going to have to take here in the second half.
If you're Montana Tech, you're up 41-0. As you roll into the second half, how long before you see like an Isaiah Clonch?
Well, you want guys to stay engaged, right? You want guys to stay engaged because the first thing programs will tell you, the second you start to lay up or not go 100%, that's when injuries happen. Mm-hmm. So that's the first warning that they'll get when they're sitting in there, knowing they're comfortably up. But they will actually talk about it. They'll turn to Isaiah Clonch in that locker room and say, hey, you be ready. Maybe first, second series, if we still got a 0 on the board, we're going to look at you maybe with that number 1 offensive front, something like that. Yep. And those number ones, you're going to get more backs into the mix. You're going to get more receivers, tight ends into the mix. And then you get to look at some of those young old front guys. The couple guys in our tailgate that are excited to see their kids play, Shoemaker and Ty Starkle.
Yep.
They made that long trip from Boise for a reason. Those guys are smart. They're football guys. They probably anticipated Montana Tech maybe winning the game decidedly here, knowing their kids are going to get some action. So you just want them to stay engaged, talk to those guys when they come up. What's that defensive front doing? What are those linebackers doing? Get coached by fellow players, get coached by your coaches, and go in there ready to play and execute.
Well, we are at the half. Montana Tech leading 41-0. Frontier Conference action here on Digger Vision. Don't forget, coming up tonight, we have basketball coming your way here on Digger Vision as Montana Tech men will get things started as they'll take on Eastern Oregon University. So the Digs will take on EOU, and that one at 6:30 up to the Hyper. We'll have that for you here coming up later this evening. So make sure to stick around for that bad boy. Certainly look forward to it. And hopefully the men will start with the same fire the women did. Congratulations to Coach Graham and the ladies as they go down to Billings and just swat MSUB, dominate them down to Billings, and certainly a statement win to get things underway for the Digs on the women's side.
I'm sure Coach Graham wasn't fired up at all.
No, goodness no.
Probably took a nice nap on the way home.
Yeah, he handles himself with such ease. He's so level-headed, let's say.
I was coming home on my walk this morning, and there were 4 of his players were walking across the trail on their way up. They must have practiced or whatever this morning. But I gave them a shout. Congratulations for a big win, and they had smiles on their faces. So I always bring their coach up, and they always get a pretty good chuckle.
We talked about it, and now as we come out, the quarterbacks are playing catch. You've got Clonch is warming up with the starter, and we'll see how early we possibly see him as we make our way through. We're getting ready for the second half. Frontier Conference action. Digger Vision. We'll take a break. We're back here in just a minute. Well, as we get ready here for the second half of play, Montana Tech, 27 offensive plays, 280 yards. Jared Wilson is 11 of 12 for 184 yards. He has 3 touchdowns. He has been sacked once. On the ground, Wilson.
Seriously, how can you take a sack there?
Yeah,
he played terrible, didn't he?
It was just awful. Wilson also the leading rusher right now. He has 4 carries for 41 total yards for Montana Tech and a touchdown. Milanowski, 6 carries for 29. Torgerson, 2 for 19. And Wykees Johnson, 3 for 19.
And to Mayville State's credit, you talked about when we talked in the beginning of the game, what's Montana Tech going to want to do? Mayville State knows they're going to try and run the ball. They've done a nice job against Montana Tech's running attack.
They really have. 96 total yards on the ground that Montana Tech has put up right now.
That's one thing you get in that Midwest. You get good tackling teams. I will say that. I mean, you go back to Northwestern State, Dakota State, Dickinson the last few years. And obviously, Mayville State, they do have capable tacklers there on defense. Now, the defensive scheme, that flex defense they play, I don't know. Some people are fans of it, obviously, and some people aren't. You know, I think of that the Desert Swarm defense at Arizona back in the day. I think that was a flex defense as well.
I'm with you.
Yeah, so, there's people out there that are a fan of it. But Montana Tech's had the answer for it, too. They've thrown the ball a lot more heavily in ratio to running than they usually do because they know they're taking advantage of good man matchups, and they're getting pretty good protection for Wilson, either on the rollout or sitting back there to get the ball delivered on time.
Well, we're getting some people coming back from the tailgate. We'll see if we get them all. 41-0, Montana Tech will kick off. On the other side, as we take a look for the Comets, they have run 25 offensive plays for 72 yards. They have attempted 3 passes now, and they have 2 interceptions, as Aiden Markison has a pair of interceptions right now. No completions for him. On the ground, Olsen is the leading rusher in the game. He has 8 carries, 65 yards, and again, dang near all of those on that last series for the Comets. Looks like Nuapa has 4 carries for 10, Green 3 for 14.
Yeah, we'll see if they just pick up where they left off here offensively. Looking forward to seeing what they're going to bring to the table.
Kickoff, floating right. It'll bounce 3 yards deep and exit the playing field. So 15 minutes on the clock. Second half action here on the Frontier. We'll keep you updated on the scoreboard here as we continue to kind of look above us, if you will, in the NAIA standings. Grandview is playing at Mid-American Nazarene. Grandview leading 32-28 with about 8 minutes left in that one. So holding on there currently. We'll keep you updated on that and the other Frontier scores.
I was embarrassed I didn't know the answer to this question. Who is the number 1 team in the country right now?
Grandview.
Grandview is? Okay.
First down and 10. Hand off to Olsen again, and he's going to pound it out to the 30. So they continue to run the ball to Olsen, and he continues to get positive yards here.
That's what you do. It isn't sexy, but it's as good as they've looked with their offense here, through this game so far, their last 2 series just on the dive.
Second down and 5. Slot in motion. Olsen will get it again. This time he's going to go backwards. They'll give him forward progress to the line of scrimmage, and that is it.
Better job up there. Umale stayed on his feet, met his play side offensive guard, stood him up, disengaged, and got into Olsen, and then Tel Arthur was there to polish off the tackle, but nice piece of team tackling there by that Tech defense.
Third down and 5 here for the Comets. Slot right in motion. They are going to run the deep pitch right side, trying to find somewhere to go, and there's just no room out there for Jack Simmers. Simmers, the sophomore, gets swallowed up. That's going to bring up 4th down.
Yeah, that Kovic got down out there in a hurry, forced the redirect, and there's just nothing more. There's no more helpless feeling in the world when you got to try and cut back against Kovic's, slight over pursuit, but turning that runner in, and then you get Anthony Oakes coming down the line of scrimmage to just wipe you out.
The battering ram following. So 4th down, and the punting unit is in here. And the Comets will kick it away. It is not Torgerson deep. So fair catch called for and brought in. As with the fair catch for Montana Tech is Manu Mello. So Mello will get the fair catch, and Montana Tech's offense will take over right at the 40-yard line.
Just want to do a quick double check to make sure all is well in Torgerson's world as far as bumps and bruises and so on and so forth. He meets that team out there, the punt return team. He looks fine. Just looks like his day may be done.
Yeah. Doesn't have his helmet with him. 13-18 left to play here in the third. And actually, We're going to get a change of quarterback right out of the gate. Isaiah Clonch will get us started here in this second half.
Good to see a 49 there at tight end. Makes me think of such a good Tech fan still, former Oredigger Sean Evans.
Big run going left side across the 45-40 down the left side for Montana Tech is Christian Vetter. Vetter inside the 10. He'll go down to the 8-yard line. Butte, Montana's own Christian Vetter will take it inside the 10.
Wow. We talked off air going into the second half. It'd be nice to see Vetter get some snaps, get in there and get loose. First snap of the second half, he's gone.
Great run by Christian Vetter. So he is inside the Case IH red zone, 1st and goal from the 8. Vetter in the backfield. Also back there with him. Vetter will get the rock. Nice stiff arm. Vetter's going to get to the edge. Vetter trying to get there. Christian Vetter is in for the score. So Christian Vetter will get the touchdown.
This is physical running back play by Vetter. That stiff arm. Yeah, something fell out. Sorry, Paul. And hit my foot.
Okay. So the Digs get in for the score, 47-0. A pair of runs for Christian Vetter, and Montana Tech will add on to their lead. Kicking unit is in here for the PAT, and the kick is up, and the kick is through. 48-0. Frontier Conference football here as Christian Vetter pounds it in, and Montana Tech extends their lead. We'll take a break, ladies and gentlemen. We're back here after this.
This afternoon's winner, and the winning number is 6.
Hey, Dave Brennan here with Case IH. One of the new options for model year 2024 is going to be an open spoke gauge wheel. That open spoke gauge wheel is going to be available on all 2000 series planters. That's going to help those growers in adverse conditions where they're muddy or high residue conditions minimize that plugging in and around that gauge wheel area. For more information on this new offering of open spoke gauge wheels, visit your local Case IH dealer.
Back here once again, as you take a look at the stands, there's a whole lot of those seats that were there earlier that probably are sitting over in the tailgate.
Inside a few of those motorhomes. Yeah, inside a few of those motorhomes.
Yeah, maybe.
Starting to get a little cold and windy out there.
A beverage or 4 to keep you warm. 12:36 left to play here in the third quarter. Christian Vetter, 2 carries, 60 yards, 1 touchdown. And the big one went for 52 yards.
Just like that, he's the number 2 leading rusher in the game.
That he is. So Baranowski kicking off here for the Digs. The wind is tapered off a little bit right now, but that is going to change rapidly. And Baranowski knocks that one with a pitch and wedge and dies 5 yards in. And the offense here for Mayville will take over at their 25-yard line. Mayville, 28 offensive plays, 83 yards thus far.
Got to get our tech rosters out now.
Truly. We are going to see some folks.
Get to see some new cornerbacks here. Of course, River Wasson's gotten a lot of snaps here in Christian Hansen's absence here at the wide corner. And then the other corner, Prince Robertson.
Down to Arizona.
And safeties, you got...
Looks like Burns here on this side.
Weber and Burns.
Yep. Out of the shotgun. Or, excuse me, Marcuson under center, my apologies. Handoff will go. And a slight gain, a pickup of 3 on first down.
Carter Kraft at linebacker, inside linebacker out of Helena. Started his career at Sac State. Came back to Montana Tech.
Peyton McGregor with the carry that time. McGregor will get 3. 2nd down and 7 here for the Comets.
So you got Kraft and Fettis in there at the inside backer positions. And then in the front, Novak's in there. Of course, we saw Novak make some good plays here a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
For this Montana Tech defense.
Under center. Markuson sends him in motion, handoff to his fullback, straight ahead again, and that is Olson. And Olson will get 4 more.
Yeah, some of the Tech defense might be a little slow getting up, getting help from a Comet.
3rd down and 2 here for the Comets. And Olson has been their offense today.
Looks like Kyler Ellerton, he got bent over pretty bad. One of those ones, the body's not supposed to contort that way.
Yeah. So 3rd down and 2, the Comets make their way up to the line of scrimmage. Aiden Markuson, the quarterback, under center, one back behind him, set up in the wing. Handoff going to go to Olson. He gets hit at the line of scrimmage, but he will get 1st down yardage. Right to the line they needed. They just needed to touch that 35-yard line, and the football breaks it. Fresh set of downs here for the Comets.
I would imagine this is as fun as life gets for interior linemen, Granted, they're integral in a lot of the stunt play stuff, rushing a passer and all that. But just this dive portion of an offense like this has to be kind of exciting for them, knowing, they're, if they can hit read and shed a blocker real quick, be the first one at in or on a tackle, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think. I'd struggle to get my fingers out of the ground.
And the pitch goes to the edge. Football comes out, and diving back on it at the 26-yard line. Ball came out of the hands of Isaiah Smith.
Had something there, too.
Yep.
Just didn't handle the ball real well.
Heads up play to just dive on it and not try and pick it up. So that'll bring up 2nd down and long here for the Comets. 2nd and 18.
What an experience for Drew Schleeman. Getting some snaps in there in that defensive front. Drew Schleeman. They got Jay Stenson in the program, but Schleeman took that number. Stenson no longer with the program, and just excited to see him. He had a completely wrecked shoulder here a year ago, so it's nice to see him back and at it.
2nd and 18. Handoff to the fullback. No, quarterback keeps it.
Did I say Drew Schleeman? I meant Cade Schleeman. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I didn't catch it either.
I'm about 12 years over on Drew.
I was going to say, I did see Drew last night. 3rd down and 15 here for the Comets. Clock running here in this 3rd quarter. So Montana Tech limiting the Comets to 83 total yards of offense here today. Comets take their time substituting. Up to the line of scrimmage. Aiden Markuson, junior quarterback out of Minnesota. Under center. Dead T man behind will get the pitch. Deep pitch, turning it upfield across the 30, 35 stiff arm out to the 37-yard line with the carry, Jack Simmers. So Simmers, the sophomore from Grand Forks, North Dakota, will get a few yards. That'll bring up 3rd down and 7.
Montana Tech defensively had a pretty good shot at a play there that looked like Mason Kelch there at linebacker. Got a piece of the runner as he was turning, just unable to drag him to the ground.
And it is 4th down, 4th and 6, and the offense, as of right now, stays on the field. Slot right in motion. They'll stand up, look over to the sidelines. They did this in the first half. They kind of faked it twice, and then they brought the punting unit in.
That viral video's going on the last couple of weeks with Patrick Mahomes sitting over there and then saying this effing never effing works. that was good stuff.
Mayville State.
And timeout by the Comets. 7:56 left to play here in the 3rd quarter. All Montana Tech 48-0 over Mayville State. With the timeout, we'll take one as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here right after this.
Hey, Dave Brennan here with Case IH. One of the new options for model year 2024 is going to be an open spoke gauge wheel. That open spoke gauge wheel is going to be available on all 2000 series planters. That's going to help those growers in adverse conditions where they're muddy or high residue conditions minimize that plugging in and around that gauge wheel area. For more information on this new offering of open spoke gauge wheels, visit your local Case IH dealer.
Back here once again to the campus of Montana Tech. 7:56 left to play here in the third quarter. The really, really cheap seats are chiming in. 4th down and 8.
Yeah. cheap shots or cheap seats?
Yeah, that too. That too. Jeez, Jay. So 4th down, the punting unit does come in here for the Comets. Punter back at the 25-yard line. Mello is at the 30. Manu Mello, young man out of Helena. He returned the first punt, and he'll be back for this one as well. Good snap. Tech gets some pressure, and a good kick is away. Pushes Mello back to the 18-yard line. He'll single hop it, and he'll try and bring it up the middle. He'll dive out to the 15-yard line. So Mello taken down that time by Grady Bach. 7:45 left to play here in the third. Tech offense out. And boy, as I look down, starter-wise, like none of the starters have their helmets anymore. Michelotti's helmet is off. Who else is in there? It looks like for Montana Tech. Milanowski's helmet is off.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that we saw them all run to the bench there after that scoring series, and that was all back up both front guys. That's good to see. You get to see former OREDIGGER Ty Starkel's son in there and Shoemaker's kid in there on that offensive front. Nice to see him get a successful drive.
Clonch at quarterback, going to roll pocket left. Airs it up. Pass goes through the hands of his tight end, incomplete.
Yeah, I tried
He had some juice on that one.
Yeah, Luke Belau. He's just, I'm not going to say KYP, the old know your personnel ball, but that was a point-blank bullet he gave his backup tight end.
So that'll fall incomplete. Brings up 2nd down and 10 here for the Digs.
Got Owen Kostelitz in there, one of the wide receivers, along with that Martinez, I think.
And, I mean, just for sake of consistency, Kostelitz's brother just signed yesterday, was it?
Yeah, I got to talk to Brad a little bit about that.
2nd and 10, handoff, and here we go down the left side, out across the 20, out to the 23-yard line is Kaika Ho.
Yeah, good hustle that time defensively, getting up there to make the tackle. It looked like A.J. Jones. I mean, he doesn't make that tackle. I think Ho runs for maybe another 20 yards.
So our 4th running back we have seen today, Kaika Ho, the young man out of Idaho. That sounds like a really good flip book, doesn't it?
Yeah. You got a feel for Christian Vetter. 2 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown, and he's got to surrender that third spot to Kaika Ho here for this next series.
3rd down and 2. Man in motion is Kostelitz. Handoff is going to go to Ho, and Kaika leans out to the 25-yard line. And it looks like he's going to be just short.
Yeah, going to be just under a yard short here. Montana Tech will punt this ball away, I'm almost certain.
Clock running, 6:40 left to play here in this third quarter.
First punt of the day for Casey Countsman, the place kicker. Does such a great job, a great transfer for Countsman to come back to his hometown. And, just a really good place kicker, but the development he's made in the punting game, he's done a great job this year of directional punting, long punts, no returns. He's got great control of that football off his foot.
He's got a little help from the wind here, so we'll see. Play clock down to 1, and the punt is away. Loose spiral, bounces at the 32-yard line, rolls inside the 25, still rolling inside the 15. And that one goes all the way down to the 12. Great punt for Casey Countsman.
74 yards, no return.
Yeah, that's a decent day at the office. 48-0, Montana Tech with the lead. The Digs have run 29 offensive plays, 340 yards.
That's what you'll hear me say, field the punt. I mean, you have to field that punt And that wasn't a directional punt. It was kicked straight down the middle of the field. The punt return personnel here was just way too deep. He let that ball get on the ground. Montana Tech covered it well, but that was certainly not just a fieldable punt. That was a returnable punt.
First down and 10 here for the Comets. Up to the line of scrimmage, Marcuson. Actually, no, we have a new quarterback in. We saw him throwing when they got started. Edward Norton is listed as a receiver. He was throwing the football in warm-up, so Edward Norton, according to our roster, a senior from Los Angeles, California, was at Pasadena City College before making his way to Mayville.
Yeah, listed backup as Dylan Lamont, number 10, but we haven't seen Dylan in the game.
So we're going to go with Ed Norton. Love his work in movies. I mean, obviously, Fight Club is perfection.
We already talked about that, oddly enough.
Second down and 6. And don't miss 25th hour as well. Man in motion, handoff going to go to the fullback. Straight ahead, Olsen across the 20, and he'll get first down yardage. So again, the big man just doing work down there. He's got 77 yards of rushing right now, and he has been the offense.
You just can't replace the experience. These younger defenders, these 2s and 3s are getting on the field right now, trying to uphold a shutout against, generally number 1 personnel here for Mayville State. This is great experience, and this is great stuff for your coaching staff, your position coaches to get to look at, grade personnel, show them what they can work at, because some things may change from practice to games. Yep. So you get to see those differences.
First down and 10 here for Mayville. Slot right goes in motion, and they'll go dive again and get good yardage. A pickup of 5 straight ahead. And with the carry for Mayville is going to be, that looks like Blaine Smith. Smith, a freshman running back out of Stephen, Minnesota.
This is where I'd like to be either like in the coach's box defensively for Montana Tech or on the field. I'd like to hear just what's being shouted, because a lot in what they say or their correction will deem where they think the blame is, for successful yards on this dive portion. I'd just like to know what they're saying. See if I could decipher it, I guess.
Second and 5, Ed Norton under center. He's going to roll right. Keeps the football the whole way, and he's going to get first down yardage. So Edward out near the 35-yard line will move the chains here for the Comets.
Ethan Alexander running on, 6'4", 275-pound redshirt freshman out of Florence. Boy, Florence has put some good programs on the field the last, say, 10 years.
I have been lucky enough to call several of those state championship games down to their field, and boy, I'll tell you, they have that program has put out some phenomenal players. And not just football. I mean, obviously, we just had one go into the Hall of Fame from Florence, for goodness sake, and Adam Greger. First down and 10 for the Comets. 3 minutes left to play here in the third. Slot right in motion, handoff to Olsen. Boy, he is it's like he's on a treadmill. The feet are just going. It doesn't matter if he's going forward or sideways. The feet are always moving. And Olsen gets a good carry again, a pickup of 4, nearly 5 on first down.
That's a portion of football officiating that I would like to see sped up a little bit. When these backs forward progress is stopped, I'd really like to see them come in there and blow that whistle a little quicker. It seems like a lot of times the forward progress is stopped, but they're waiting for offensive personnel to come help that pile.
Yeah.
When it's already been stopped, it's injury waiting to happen.
Second down and 6 here for the Comets. One back, slot right in motion. Quarterback keeps it, and he gets some daylight. Edward Norton out to the 49-yard line. So he'll get another first down here. That'll bring a fresh set of downs right at midfield for the Comets.
And you're starting to see option number 2, right? Off that give fake to Olsen, the fullback there. Option number 2 is quarterback keep or quarterback, looping around the end, whether it's option or whatever it is. But you can see that Norton's probably a little more capable carrying the ball than Marcuson was.
First down and 10. That puts the Comets over 100 yards of offense for the first time today. 35 offensive plays, 102 yards. First down and 10 right from midfield. Handoff to the tailback. That's the freshman again, as Blaine Smith will get the carry and pick up 3. 1:10 left to play here in the third. Clock just continuing to move here.
Yeah, you're starting to see even more personnel in here on defense. Of course, Kate Schleeman's back in the game there. This has got to be an exciting day. Dad's going into the Hall of Fame here at Montana Tech as an assistant coach, and his redshirt freshman son, pretty good impact player at Butte High in his tenure there, both in the offense and defensive front, getting some snaps here at defensive tackle.
2nd down and 7. Handoff to the tailback. A gain of 2 and not much more. A big green wave meets him. And that'll bring up 3rd down and 5 here for the Comets.
Yeah, that was Kraft. Ran right into Kraft there at linebacker, stood him up, and his teammates helped him drag the back to the ground.
So 3rd down here for the Comets, and it looks like they will not try and get a play off before we go to 4. 48-0. Montana Tech up over the Comets of Mayville State. Frontier Conference action here on Digger Vision. With a timeout, we'll take one. We're back here after this. The Town Pump Charitable Foundation presents Hometown Heroes. In Butte, Montana, a simple bowl carries a powerful message. Every fall, local artists shape more than 1,300 ceramic bowls by hand, each one unique, each one made with love. Those bowls become symbols of hope at Empty Bowls. Together, the community gathers, sharing soup, stories, and generosity. Over the years, Empty Bowls has raised more than $700,000, all to support the Butte Emergency Food Bank's backpack program. That program sends weekend meals home with students who might otherwise go hungry. Hundreds of children every month right here in Butte. A handmade bowl, a warm meal, a community that refuses to let its kids go hungry. This is Empty Bowls, where art, compassion, and community come together to fill more than stomachs, they fill hearts. Welcome back here once again to the campus of Montana Tech as we get started here in the fourth quarter. The Digs up 48-0. Montana Tech 32 offensive plays, 349 yards. On the other side, the Comets right now 36 offensive plays for 108 yards. Comets do not have a completion yet today. Only 3 attempts, and 2 of those have been intercepted.
Yeah, it's a passing game certainly that struggles. I mean, you didn't have to look too deep into it coming in to what you're seeing with today's results. Last week, 1 for 7 throwing the ball against Northern. Yeah, it's just one of those deals. I mean, those special players are tough to find. I mean, it's clearly not what they're designed to do or what they want to do. They obviously don't want to throw the ball 30 times a game, but yeah, I mean, it's been a struggle. It's really forced this offense into one-dimensional stuff, and against really good defenses like Montana Tech, it's just tough to move the ball, let alone the chains.
3rd down and 5 here for the Comets. Edward Norton under center, 1 back, lined up in the T. Slot left in motion, and he is destroyed. Edward Norton gets ran right through as Caleb Novak picks him up and deposits him firmly into the turf.
Made some great plays in limited action, but 6'5", 265, redshirt sophomore, clearly athletic in the plays we've seen Caleb make, you know, in limited action here for this Montana Tech defense. But you know what I like to see is I like to see full coverage, and this is full covered.
Can we get another look at that there, Jason? Do you have that from either end zone? Yeah, we'll take a look at it later. Is out of the punting unit is in here for the Comets. That's a huge play for Novak. And the punt is away. End over end. Mello fields it at the 8-yard line. He's got a little bit of running room. He's across the 15 out to the 19. So the Digs will take over at the 19. Here's a look at the play by Novak. He turns, and look at that. He runs right into him. That had to Put the fear of you-know-what into you.
Doesn't matter where they line up.
Thanks, Jason.
They've got a gap assignment there, and that's one thing I wanted to touch on earlier. I just failed to mention it. Montana Tech defensively, how much different they look. It almost looks like what we call a bear front. They just covered everybody in the offensive front. A five-man surface, play in and play out. That's one difference that we've seen out of this Tech defense going into a run-heavy team.
First down and 10 here for the Digs after the punt. Castellitz goes in motion. Clonch out of the shotgun. Handoff is going to go to Vetter. Vetter has a lane. Vetter across the 25. Little shake and bake out to the 34. So Vetter will pick up 14. And that puts him up at 75 yards on the day. 25-yard average. That's a pretty good day.
Really seeing it, and you can see that the years in the weight room and the strength in that stiff arm. I mean, it's been effective on a couple of these runs, really effective.
First down and 10. Castellitz in motion. Stops in the slot. Handoff going to go to Vetter to that strong side. And again, good blocking out in front. Vetter across the 40. Pushes the pile to the 45. A gain of 10 for Vetter.
He's on pace to get his first career 100-yard game here at Montana Tech.
Take a look at this here on the instant replay. It really looks like he's going to get his lane shut off right there, and watch him just squirt out of this thing. He just still keeps powering his way through.
Look at being led by Brett Fullington there on that side in the offensive front, along with Luke Belau. And he just got behind his big hogs and ran for 10 yards.
First down and 10. Handoff going to come here to the near side. Vetter across midfield. Great stiff arm. Vetter dives out of bounds to the 47.
He's got to like how he's getting his yards here, too. You know, this is real fun for a tailback. I mean, life between the tackles can get physical. It can get you bumps, bruises, you get blasted. But he's getting most of the his successful runs here in the second half have all just been perimeter runs. Yeah. He's able to just show his speed, turn the corner, and run.
He hasn't been, and then on top of it, he isn't getting touched for 5-6 yards downfield.
Yeah, there's not 2 or 3 280-pounders piling on either.
So Vetter checks out. Kaikaho is into the backfield. Isaiah Clonch brings man in motion. Second down and 2. Clonch going to run it himself. Clonch packs it up. He's across the 45. Big stiff arm inside the 40 to the 37. So Clonch will move the chains. Clonch is yet to throw the football. I'd honestly like to see him take a shot downfield.
He had the one pass attempt
he did. You're right.
To Belau, but yeah, I mean, and this is where it gets difficult, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're up 48-0. It gets difficult. You don't want to throw a ton. And trust me, that opposing coach, he sees a bunch of players out there that are 2s and 3s. They don't care what you run, as long as you're not running end around, double reverse pass or anything like that. But he knows the importance of getting 2s and 3s in there to execute your offense and advance your program.
First down and 10. Man goes in motion. They'll give it back to him on the fly motion, and he is swallowed up. Cole Worley, our man, just gets beat up there as Worley goes in motion and gets taken down by Jorgensen. Montana Jorgensen, a junior linebacker out of Minnesota, and Worley is going to lose 5.
Yeah, Jorgensen was in the backfield there in a hurry, and Worley just really didn't have a chance. I think that's one of those deals, like with Torgerson in that situation with his experience. He sees that so early, he just changes direction. We saw that happen earlier today.
Second down and 15. Castellitz in motion. Handoff is going to go to Kaika Hoke. Has a lane. Kaika across the 40. Takes a big hit. He'll pick up 3 they'll say 3 on the carry. So Kaika Hoke will give us third down and 12.
Brady Delaroque and Tyee Johnson there on the stop.
So third and 12 here for the Digs. Ball at the 40-yard line of Mayville State. Montana Tech leading 48-0. We'll go back to the scoreboard and check those here in a few. Dropping back, they'll swing it out here to Ho. Kaika Ho gets around one defender. We're going to get a flag down. Kaika's off to the races. Kaika Ho is at the 10, the 5, into the end zone, but there is a flag down back at the 40.
It's probably going to be a hold or possibly, depending on what was going on downfield, possibly an offensive pass interference.
Kaika Ho hit the afterburners at the 25.
Offense, number 71. 10-yard penalty, replay third down.
So the holding will bring it back.
Uh-oh. They catch Drew Shoemaker with the hold.
Let's take a look here in the replay, see if we can see it. Here comes Shoe.
Oh, blocking the back.
Blocking the back. Okay.
Oh, there we go. That makes sense.
So 3rd down and long here. See if I can get our other scores here for a moment. 3rd and long for Montana Tech. Clonch out of the shotgun. Kaikaho in the backfield with him. One receiver right, 2 to the left. Clonch dropping back. He has time. He airs it up down the middle. He has a man. Pass complete at the 20-yard line. That's a great catch by Manu Mello. And Mello's going to move the chains.
Good spot that time by Clonch, too. They trusted him to get the ball down between the safeties here, and he delivers a nice ball. Enough heat on it to get there in a hurry, and enough air on it to clear that underneath coverage.
Ooh. Boy, Manu took a heck of a shot there at the end.
Credit to Manu. He holds on to that ball. You just get so few opportunities here in your learning years here at Montana Tech. You do not want to drop that ball. He answers the call.
Young man from Helena High School, had a tremendous career. Here's Vetter again. Vetter inside the 10, pulls the pile to the 7.
He's got to be close to 100 yards now.
It's got to be. Take a look at those here in just a minute. So that'll bring up 1st and goal from the 8 inside the Case IH red zone as Montana Tech knocking on the door.
I just talked to him before the season. It was just so nice to see him with the bad luck he's had with knee injuries, just without a knee brace on, fully healthy, and just ready to go here. It's just refreshing for his ongoing health not to have to wear a knee brace.
Christian Vetter in the backfield. He'll get the ball. Nope, it's going to be held by the quarterback, and Clonch is going to get stood up. Runs right into the waiting arms that time of Macklin.
Yeah, I don't know if Isaiah read that or not, but it looked like if that was a read, I think Vetter keeps that ball. He might walk into the end zone.
2nd and goal from the 10. Clock continues to run here in the 4th quarter. Again, thanks for joining us here on Digger Vision. We have basketball coming your way later. 6:30 this evening, Montana Tech basketball. The men will get things rolling against Eastern Oregon University. We'll have that one for you here in a couple hours. Up to the line of scrimmage. Handoff going to go to Vetter. Vetter inside the 5, down to the 3. Christian Vetter is going to give us 3rd down and 3 here. And that puts him at 1:06 on the day.
Plus, he's in position to maybe get another touchdown.
That's it. Clock running here in the 4th quarter. Montana Tech leading 48-0. Grandview gets the win over Mid-American Nazarene, 32-28. Morningside also with a big win. Looks like Valley City leading Dickinson 23-21. Rocky leading Northern 28-21. So both those getting close.
Yeah, Montana Tech's mixed up a little bit there on offense.
Montana Tech.
Head coach Kyle Sampson sees it, gives him a few what furs on his way out there. You know, but anyway, smart enough and quick enough to get a timeout so they don't suffer any kind of a procedural type penalty or delay a game.
7:28 left to play here in this ball game. Let's go back to the scoreboard for a moment. As I mentioned earlier, 5 minutes left to play. Dickinson is at Valley City, and Valley City leading 23-21. Also, with only about a minute left to play, Rocky Mountain College leading Northern 28-21. Let's see if we can get an idea. Oh, now that's gone up to 35-21. So it looks like Rocky going to get the win over Northern. That one is in lovely Encina Carve. And our other games here. Western leading Simpson 31-0 in California. And then, of course, the other 2 games on the left coast starting later tonight. College of Idaho at Eastern at 6. Southern Oregon at Arizona Christian at 7. $7:28 left to play here. Vetter now 111 yards, 7 carries.
Our women's basketball coach up here has his hands on a lot of buttons, doesn't he?
What are you trying to say?
Well, he's fully engaged in what we're doing here, what we're talking about, whether he's listening or whatnot. He's got a team to run. I know he's got about 11 fantasy football teams.
At least.
Knows what's going on with the men's program. Yeah, it's just funny. Boy, that guy's got a lot of energy.
48-0, Montana Tech with the lead. I didn't even see our redhead go out. I apologize.
And we're his biggest fans. He knows that.
Yep. Unless he's stealing my coffee out of my office, then we're not friends. So after the timeout, Montana Tech offense will get another look.
And if you talk to him long enough, you get a pretty good breakdown of the girls and young boys. His family's athletic ongoings.
Yep. So back out after the timeout, Isaiah Clonch at quarterback. Vetter, no, it's Kaika Ho on his left hip. Worley goes in motion. And Clonch is going to keep it. Clonch looking to get to the corner, and he'll get stood up at the 3-yard line.
I'm sorry I'm laughing. Clonch just wants to belt this defender.
Take a look here as he turns the corner.
Isaiah plays with an edge. I kind of like it. He does not duck the contact, but met his match there.
So the kicking unit, it looks like, will come in here for the Digs. Clock continues to run in the fourth quarter. Montana Tech leading 48-0.
An offense that's really been rolling. 49 points in their previous 2 games, and they're going to have probably a minimum of 51 here should Casey split the uprights.
20-yard attempt just inside the left hash mark. Kick is up. The kick is good. So Casey Countsman gets another, as Countsman now 8 of 9 hitting field goals this year, and Montana Tech goes up 51-0. Frontier Conference football here on Digger Vision. We're back after this.
Even when you have to weather the storm, even when the unexpected happens, even when the local environment slows things down, we will get you what you need when you need it. We are committed to getting you back in the seat, back to work, back to what matters. At Torgerson's Equipment, we know what matters most. Community, family, working every day to make your day more productive.
Welcome back here once again to the campus of Montana Tech. Bob Greenfield as the Digs up 51-0. Kickoff 2 yards deep, and the return will come out. Going left across the 15 to the 17-yard line and no further. So the return out to the 17-yard line, and the Comets will look to get rolling.
Brecken McClintock, 6'1", 185-pound redshirt freshman out of Casper, good old Detrona High School.
Clock sits at 6:32 left to play here. Montana Tech at Rocky Mountain College next Saturday.
I think Detrona might have been where former Montana Tech OREDIGGER volleyball coach Marilyn Tobin went to high school.
Really?
Detrona, there were 2 high schools. I can't remember which was which.
1st and 10, handoff on the dive, out to the 23. This time with the carry is going to be, we have a new back there, that's Joe Durkett. No, excuse me, it's Jones. Brian Jones, a sophomore running back out of Florida.
What number did you have there?
36.
I don't know whose roster I'm looking at here. I got Cutler Peterson and Joe Dukert.
Okay.
My apologies if I've just been saying the wrong names all day.
Same, likewise. 2nd down and 6 here. Man in motion, handoff going to go up the middle again. And nothing there. A gain of 1, maybe 2. Now a late flag.
I wonder, if maybe there was a hand on the face mask in there, or can't tell the preliminary signal here.
Personal
Looked
foul,
like face mask. Yep.
59 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Montana Tech leading 51-0.
That's Vettis getting caught with the face mask there.
The official trying to move the ball up, and he's passing the Montana Tech players as they try and influence the spot of that football. First down and 10 here for the Comets. They'll line up in that wing tee. Edward Norton under center, one back, two wings. They fake the deep pitch, hand off to the tailback, and that one is swallowed up quickly.
Novak and the crew, they're in that defensive front. They're clearly adjusting here. They're just doing a better job against the dive portion. That's what I talked about earlier, about getting good live reps against an opponent. You know, these key minutes, you know, they're going to adjust, and you're starting to see the results there. Got some new blood here. Ryder Murdoch out here at left corner, 6'3", 175-pounder out of Billings Senior. We've pulled some good players out of Senior over the years. Brandon Shaw out at the other cornerback, out of the university. Came here from the University of Hawaii, Livermore, California.
Second down and 8. Slot left in motion, handoff. They'll go with the dive again up the middle.
There's a joke
and actually,
there.
Edward Norton gets a couple great spins. He's across the 45 down to the 41.
Sorry about that. I thought the runner was down. There's a joke there, transferring from the University of Hawaii to Butte, Montana.
Yeah, nice job, Edward Norton, that time, faking the handoff. Watch the spin moves here to wrap this one up. Big one there, and then whoop. Nice run by the senior. It says running back on paper.
Yeah, good balance.
Or a wide receiver, rather.
Well, we've seen that here, running backs and wide receivers playing a little quarterback. I still remember that year when we have 6 sets of hands under center for Montana Tech back in the Zach Bunny days.
First down and 10.
Saraceni.
Slot right in motion, handoff. They'll go dive again, straight ahead, a gain of 4, nearly 5. Mayville has run now for 163 total yards on the ground, 0 yards passing.
Good play by Alexander there, shedding the block, making the tackle.
Clock continues to run, 3:30 left to play here in the contest. So again, Mayville has run for $163. They came in averaging about 250 yards a game on the ground. And remember, they only had 10 yards of total offense until the final series of the first half. Edward Norton under center. And they're going to keep it on the dive portion straight ahead. And it gets swallowed up quickly.
And Norton does a nice job, not just from being an athlete behind center. You know, he's taken his correct steps on that hand give. You know, he's 90 degrees to the right. He's riding that dive portion of that triple option. Clearly spends some time in practice under center.
Second down and 4. And like I said earlier, watching him warm up, he was throwing the ball pretty darn well, honestly. It felt like anyway in warm-ups. So third down and 3 officially. Norton will step up under center. Montana Tech, 5 guys on the defensive front. Slot right in motion. Dive. Nope. Quarterback keeps it. Spins to the 30. And he's going to get first down yardage.
That's that old counter option. Or that quarterback counter that just looked nightmares about Paul Petrino at Carroll College 40 years ago, 35 years ago. Running that dive and then countering back to the opposite A-gap there. Man, that was a bugger to try and stop.
We have a timeout with a 2-minute warning, ladies and gentlemen. 2-minute timeout. Montana Tech leading 51-0. We'll take a timeout. We'll get through the final 2 minutes after this.
Hey, Dave Brennan here with Case IH. One of the new options for model year 2024 is going to be an open spoke gauge wheel. That open spoke gauge wheel is going to be available on all 2000 series planners. That's going to help those growers in adverse conditions with muddy or high residue conditions minimize that plugging in and around that gauge wheel area. For more information on this new offering of open spoke gauge wheels, visit your local Case IH dealer.
Two minutes left to play here in this football game. Montana Tech leading 51-0, looking to go to 8-0 overall.
I was just going to say, one thing overlooked, Montana Tech's going to be 8-0. Just an incredible start to this season, and I will say it again, they're replacing 26 seniors. It's mind-numbing the amount of success that this team, just out of the gates, clearly the toughest part of their schedule is their first 5 games, and they get through there at 5-0. It's just incredible. What a great job of coaching and culture and leadership.
And not only getting through it, but getting through it relatively healthy. Obviously you're going to get bumps and bruises. Anytime you're playing Carroll, Western College of Idaho, all within a small window, you're going to get beat up. That's all there is to it. First down and 10. Quarterback's going to keep it again. Edward Norton to the 27.
And that's a team that's playing really good football right now, too. Carroll College is playing really, really good football.
And so is the other one in purple. College of Idaho is tough.
Yeah, Western, Carroll went down there and beat Western, but those Western's only 2 losses, right, on the year. Our Tech, they got one more? College Idaho?
Yep.
Oh, okay. But, Carroll's playing really good football. I've tuned in and watched him play. Of course, got a little interest in their quarterback, Caden Hewitt, and his progression, and he's just gotten better all season long. Montana Tech really disrupted that offense down there. But, they've rallied and they're playing better football.
2nd and 6. Handoff is going to go to the fullback. And not much there. A gain of possibly 1. Bless you. Clock continuing to run as we are down to a minute left to play. So 3rd down and 5. And Montana Tech will go to 8-0. They'll be on the road next week against Rocky Mountain College. And you'd better be ready to take on the Bears down the road to Herb Clint Field. It's the only team they will play twice. The first one, of course, was a non-conference matchup. This one will be a conference game. That's going to be a big one next Saturday.
Yes,
Make sure everybody gets down, enjoys the tailgate. Let's go support the Digs on the road. They'll run the sweep on the edge and out of bounds at the 18-yard line.
Who's that? Have you been looking at stats out of Rocky? Who's been getting? Is it Novak getting the snaps at quarterback, or is it Holcomb? Do you know?
I want to say it is Novak.
Or Novak, excuse me.
I want to say Novak is there. We will certainly find out, that's for sure. 23 seconds remaining here in this football game. Montana Tech, 43 offensive plays, 438 total yards. On the other side, Comets have run 53 offensive plays for $187. First down and 10 from the Montana Tech 17. Fullback gets it, powers his way down to the 15-yard line. Strong run that time by Marcus Jones.
Some hard hitting still going on that field. These guys just got fired up.
I think that's going to be it. That's our final snap. And Montana Tech is going to go to 8-0. The number 4 team in the country, the OREDIGGERs, will extend their best start in franchise history out to 8 wins in a row as Montana Tech 8-0 for the first time ever. And things just continue to roll their way. Number 1 offense rolling. The defense played outstanding. And then, boy, there is a lot to be happy for when you look at those seconds and thirds. All the really young guys getting a lot of quality reps and getting them ready for every step beyond.
Yeah, great experience here today for everybody. Montana Tech, of course, getting not back on track, but coming back off their bye week. And, in a sense, getting a good half a game, a little over half a game, getting to look at some young personnel. And I just want to finish congratulating all of our Hall of Famers, Pat Hansen and Doug Schliemann and Corey Crum and of course Mitzi Daly and Adam Greger. Who am I missing?
Nick DeJoven.
Yeah, and of course Dr. DeJoven. But congratulations to all of them, especially my cohort, my buddy Doug Schliemann. So many good memories coaching with Doug. We hit it off right away. When I heard that story, it was a tough one to repeat. Such an honor and such a well-deserved accolade for him, being able to enjoy it in front of his family. The only The only tough part about that whole deal is his father-in-law, Rollo Shea, not being here for this moment. You know, I think of Rollo and Kathy in the last few years, both his in-laws passing away. They would have really, really enjoyed that moment. But at the same time, yeah, Doug is just a quality human being and what I would consider one of my absolute best friends, and couldn't be happier for him and the rest of our Hall of Famers, of course, too. So there you go.
Let's take a look at the final numbers here. Montana Tech 43 offensive plays for 438 total yards. Jarrett Wilson was 11 of 12 in the contest for 184 yards. Touchdowns, and he played the first half, and the first half only. Didn't take a snap after halftime. Clonch had 2 passes, completed one of those for 33 yards here today. The leading running back for Montana Tech, Christian Vetter. Vetter had 7 carries, 111 yards for Vetter, 1 touchdown on the day as well. So that's the third OREDIGGER running back who has gone for more than 100 this year. We'll see if, maybe Kaika is next.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be cool.
Sure, it's nice to have that option, right?
Well, then we had to get Wilson there, too. Jared Wilson, 4 carries, 41 yards. Milanowski, 6 for 29. Torgerson had 2 for 19. And Wykees Johnson, only 3 carries, 19 yards for Wykees here on the day. Receiving-wise, Michelati, 2 catches for 63 and a score. Mello, 2 catches for 46. Mano had a great day today. Torgerson, 3 catches for 36. Snyder, 1 for 26. Wykees had 2 for 23. And Pierce at tight end had 2 for 23 and a score for the OREDIGGERS. On the other side, Mayville State did not have a completion. They had 3 passing attempts. 2 of those were intercepted, and Mayville did not have a completion here today. Rushing the ball, they were led by Olson, that big back, number 42. He, especially that last drive before halftime, gave him a ton of life. 14 carries, 87 yards for him. Norton had 8 carries for 51. Johnson had 6 for 12. And Simmers had 3 for 15.
And, of course, we want to welcome Mayville State to the Frontier, right?
Yep, yes, indeed.
Looking forward to all these teams getting in. You get in here and you see where the bar's set, and they're no stranger to good football out there in the Midwest either. But, you find out real quick where you got to be. And, there's a lot of good football throughout this country, but there's really good football being played here. And one more thing real quick, if I could just say congratulations to both Butte High Bulldogs and the Butte Central Maroons.
Indeed.
Last night getting big wins. Maroons hadn't beat Dillon since 2014, I believe, and Butte High getting a shutout win over the Hill in the Capitol. So that's exciting. A good weekend of football here in the mining city.
51-0 our final. Montana Tech with the win over Mayville State. The Digs are 8-0, currently number 4 in the country, and they'll look to continue that next week in Billings as the Digs take it on the Battling Bears, 1 o'clock down to Herb Clint Field. Hopefully we'll see you in Billings, and until then, ladies and gentlemen, have a great weekend. Take care.